Well, there goes the neighborhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We're live as ever. I was going to say as always, but not always. But we're live as usual.
Watch out, it's the popo.
Yeah, we started. Usually, we start a minute late for technical difficulties, or we're doing things. But literally, as I'm trying to do the show, I'm looking across the street at the house across the way, and like two cop cars. Literally within the last 5 minutes, two cop cars showed up. I only see one now, with the policeman coming to the door, and then he's we don't know what the heck is going on. Now he's carrying some kind of weird, long red bag. Turns out I think they're just trying to get into another car that's parked there. Either someone lost their key, or they're busting into the car for whatever reason. I don't think I'm allowed to really just turn the computer around and show what's going on, am I?
No,
Would that be a...
I think they'll shoot you, honey.
That's true. Plus, we've been watching the TV show Gotham, and there's a character there named Victor Zsasz, who is just this bald, scary guy he's great, not dignity, but he has a great feeling for the job in the sense that when he goes to assassinate somebody, he's trying just to kill that person, when he has the option of killing everybody around him.
He'll be like, "Oh, I like your shoes. I'm going to kill you now."
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah. And the cops went away, so maybe they just got into the car. I guess somebody was just locked out of the car, and they needed, because he took one of those long metal, not a crowbar thing, but it goes into the
I think
pops.
it's called a taser.
But no, oh well. I guess that was the whole. Yeah, we thought it would be like an ice raid or something.
That's right, baby.
Because they have like a daycare across the way, and God knows how many children are there, and God knows how many are either there legally as a daycare or legally, period. But but anywho, that's my morning here on Dave's Gone By. We're in the neighborhood. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. That is my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. This is the show. I turned the computer somehow. You can't even see what the card for the show says, which says it is our 813th episode of the program. It's called Dave's Gone By, but this particular episode is called Mosh Pit, except notice how it's spelled, Mosh Pit, because we're going to have, in just a while, our guest in the neighborhood will be a world musician, also a klezmer musician, music teacher and theorist on some level, a fellow named Moshe Denburg. He's been doing this for several decades now. He actually has a band, founded a band like 3-4 decades ago called Tzimmes. If you know what Tzimmes is, it's a Eastern European Jewish stew. And, all carrots go in there, and prunes, and fruit, and vegetables, and meat.
For drama or trouble, don't make a problem.
That's right. It's like, don't make it Tzimmes.
Is it a metaphor? What is it?
Well, it means don't make like a big mess, don't make a big hoo-ha or problem with all this, but it really stems from the fact that Tzimmes is a stew. It's just everything kind of potluck kosher goes into it, and you stir it up, and you get all those different flavors. Well, he saw this as a metaphor for the band, in the sense that, it's Eastern European Jewish music, but it's also Western European, Spanish, coming from all different cultures, and then throwing in some world music from other places into a big pot of Tzimmes. So that's what Moshe Denburg did and has been doing for all these years. Tzimmes is releasing a 2-record set. Anybody remember records? A 2-CD, a 2-something digital compilation of their work. I think it's all newly recorded music, but the songs come from all different periods of Tzimmes' career. So Moshe Denburg is going to be in the neighborhood talking about that, not with me, because, hey, when you have a world music klezmer person on the show, who better to talk to them than, of course, Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder, spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. He talked to the late Belvel Pasternak a few years ago about Jewish music. He also, Frank London was on the show a few months ago talking to Rabbi Saul, people who know the genre. And Rabbi Saul, of course, loves the genre, so it should be a lot of fun. Plus, Moshe is going to be staying on the program to play our weekly Today-Yesterday game with our regular panelists, David Sheward and Leslie Hoban Blake. They are both theater critics and they're very knowledgeable people, and we have a lot of fun playing the game, which isn't just straight up trivia. It's not like Jeopardy, where, oh, here's the question, here's the answer. Some of the questions are like that, some are definitely not. You don't want to miss it. That's our Today, Yesterday quiz. And remember that the idea behind Today, Yesterday is that every question is...
always add new features.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to do that too. Yeah.
I think people. Leslie is really good at the word.
The three clues in the news.
No,
That's
she's
a
very
new.
good at the letters, unscrambling the letters into a word. She's
We'll
good
see if
She won last time.
I know. She beat David Sheward.
Yeah, that's happened twice, I think.
Well, yeah, it's going to happen. Leslie's no slouch.
No, there's a lot of competition.
So now it'll be Leslie and David
And
versus.
the guests are scoring better.
Yeah, what a close game it was. We had like a tie Didn't we have a tie?
I think
Last week.
Vicky Quaddy was there, right? And then it was Vicky Quaddy and Leslie.
Right.
Was it Vicky Quaddy and Leslie?
Or it might have been David and Leslie and
Who was
our guest.
And the guest. And then what happened was...
Was our guest last week? I'm so sorry for not remembering.
Feel the burn.
Oh, yes, Burn. You were right. Burn. I feel so bad. There's nothing against the guest who was wonderful last week, but what the heck was his name? He was a what? What was he? Bernard? Bernstein? Bernadette? Béarnaise sauce?
He's a witness
Victim.
protection we can't mention.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, anybody, if you want to find out, it's very easy. Just go to davesgoneby.com, look at the last show, listen to the last show, watch the last show, all at davesgoneby.com. Sarah Bernhardt, Bernardo in Romeo and Juliet.
It's on the archives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. davesgoneby.com. It's a very...
Feel the burn. Guests, Jamie Bernard.
Jamie Bernard! I said Bernard. Bernard was the first thing I said, but I thought it was her first name. She was great. She was wonderful. And she came real close to winning.
No, but they tied with a male guest.
Well, yeah. Oh, so maybe the week before, whoever was playing the game 2 weeks ago was literally a three-way tie, and I think.
No, Dave Sheward wasn't there because he used his fun questions as the tiebreaker.
Right. So yeah, last week it wasn't the tie. It was a tie between Leslie and Jamie, wasn't it? Or something like that, and it couldn't be broken or.
I'm not sure.
Well, you know what? As I said, all you got to do is go to davesgoneby.com and you can watch the older episodes and see who won our Today, Yesterday quizzes, which all have to do with things that happened on this date in history. So this is the last Saturday in August. It's August 28th, 2021. So previous August 28th. What happened in world history? We ask questions about that on our Today, Yesterday quiz. Also, some of the stuff that we do on Dave's Gone By, me being Dave, is our weekly Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where for living so many years in Colorado, I got it into my head to write a short, disgusting poem every week about some new place in Colorado. I've got about 170 of them so far. Just towns that are famous, like Denver and Boulder and Vail, to places you've literally never heard of, but they exist. They're usually statutory towns, whatever that means, and with one post office and 30 people living there. But if I can make a poem about it, I do. So this week, where are we going? We're going to Wiley, Colorado. Wiley, Colorado. That should be the place where coyotes come in from Mexico, shouldn't it?
That's funny.
But it isn't. But
That's not where they come from.
Yeah, but Wiley, Colorado, it will be our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Also, we will be having our Greeley Crimes and Old Times segment. We got a lot of great stuff coming today because there were two columns in the Greeley Tribune newspaper that is in Greeley in northern Colorado. Here's, of course, what I hold up every week. So these are real columns based on real information that comes into the newspaper. And what they do is one column is phone calls that go to police dispatch. And the police person there has to take down the information. It's public record. And it isn't just like, oh my God, there's a horrible crime going on. Or, someone can't get into a car. Some of these are like, ooh, there's a scary squirrel on my stoop. Can you please send a police officer? And so the funniest ones of these that are absolutely real are compiled by the folks at the Tribune. They put them in this column, they publish it, and we take the funniest ones of those and share them with you, as well as another column in the paper called 100 Years Ago, which are actual items that were in the Greeley Tribune. It was called the Tribune Republican back then. The Greeley Tribune newspaper back in 1921. And, back then it was real news or real opinion. Now we look at it back nostalgically and say, oh, someone's automobile broke down on the road and the flivver was broken. It's cute. So we mix them both together and we call it Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Also, we got to, let's see, what else am I going to do? Well, I'll have a segment called Dave Goes Off, which is, well, actually, I think we're going to more call it Dave.
David, how come your cousins don't come back on the show?
He's probably watching. Sometimes
No, not Adam Glass, like the shoe buy.
I don't know. I think they're getting settled out in, is it Vegas that they're in? I think they're in Vegas. It's 138 degrees.
They're in Arizona. Oh, no, Vegas,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Or maybe, but either place, it's 138 degrees, and the smoke from the California fires is literally, it's like poisoning everybody who's living there right now. So I don't think they're necessarily in a condition to go on camera and go, hi, But, I hope they're having a fabulous time. They lived in New York for decades, and they were finally ready to move, right, and go west and have a whole different lifestyle. And as they're moving, A, it's a pandemic. B, they have to build a place that they're going to be living in. And now C, it's like the whole west is covered with schmutz and ash and wildfire, because as acres and acres continue to burn out there. You ever notice? And I realize it's a global warming thing, but did you notice that now every year California has its worst wildfire ever? Like 3 years ago, this is the worst California wildfire ever. 50,000 acres burning to the ground. And then the next year is like, worst California wildfire ever. 51,000 acres burning to the... And this year. So, I'm sure it's true, but A, it makes me wonder just how big California is, that there's still acreage to burn. I don't know how it isn't, like there's probably one block somewhere in Sacramento that has not yet been touched. Like they just, I don't know, they spray it with water every morning just to make sure there's no kindling. And that is the only part of California that has not yet been singed over the past few years. I don't know how that is. I don't know how, like, Elon Musk or what's the other guy? Who went up, the two guys who went up in the air? Virgin Atlantic's, oh God, the guy who founded Virgin Records and Virgin Airlines, going up against, who's the Amazon guy?
Oh, Jobs?
No, Jobs is dead, but who's the...
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos and...
Jamie Bernard?
Not sure. But, those two guys are in a race, literally a personal race, to see who can go up higher into space in a dick rocket, right? Meanwhile, it's like, the billions of dollars that they're doing to do that, maybe you can just figure out a way to take California and Colorado and Arizona and New Mexico and have shields or have implanted hoses in the ground, so at the first hint of a fire in any forest or on any street or near any houses, it just goes like a sprinkler system. What am I? It's like, some idiot camper left a match and tinder and a magnifying glass, and overnight, suddenly you go from a little bit of smoke to hundreds and hundreds of acres burning out of control to like match, tinder, smoke. Here comes the water, doused. You figure a few $1 billion would figure that shit out, and be allowed, and they could seed, if you will, the ground and the cement and the pavement of these streets to make that happen. So that we'll never have a fire that devours tens of thousands of acres again. And maybe, so Jeff Bezos doesn't make it. He didn't go to the moon. He just went up in space, right? What did he pay just to go look at stars a little higher than the rest of us can? I know he can. It's his money. He's entitled. But still, if they can put a man on the moon, why can't they dot dot? And sometimes it's like, why can't they cure cancer? Well, because cancer is a God thing, and maybe someday we will. But it's sort of like saying it doesn't mean that there's a certain scientific thing we just haven't figured out yet. That, someone will figure it out and cancer will be cured. As opposed to saying, fire. Water and foam can put out fire. How do we get water and foam to fire fast? I think that is figure outable. And I know that's not a word, but I think that is figure outable. And we can do that with billions and billions of dollars in a way that throwing billions of dollars at cancer won't necessarily do anything. But anyway, I'm Dave Lefkowitz. This is Dave's Gone By. This is what we do, at least in the early part of the show, before I start getting into the segments of the show. And that's how I got waylaid there. I was going to mention, it's not going to be called Dave Goes Off. It's really going to be a Dave Says Bye segment, because it's just been an awful week for music lovers, for people who care about popular music. Because like one day after another, we lost 3 major people. And I just want to talk about them. One of them was Tom T. Hall. I don't know if you know that he passed. This kind of legendary country composer. And I do not, country music is not my thing. And yet attention should be paid to the passing of Tom T. Hall. And he died literally just about a week ago. And then also, either the day before him or the day after him, we lost Don Everly, the second and last Everly brother. And music as we know it, if you love popular music, everything from the Beatles to the Beach Boys, Simon and Garfunkel, I mean, we would not necessarily be hearing harmonies and pop the way we do without the sound of Phil and Don Everly. And so, their moment was maybe just a couple of years and maybe a half dozen great songs. But those half dozen, they will go on forever, right? And then so we've got to say a farewell to an era, to Phil and, Phil's gone for a while, but Don Everly passed last week. And then I don't want to say most important, but the one that just really felt like a gut punch. And it's not as if it was unexpected. He bowed out a month or two ago from an upcoming Rolling Stones tour. The Stones were going to tour again after the pandemic. They were going to go out there and do some big gigs with Keith and Mick and Charlie and Ronnie Wood and with Chuck Level, our friend of the neighborhood, who accompanies them on keyboards, and other they have girl singers now. They it's like the James Brown thing. James Brown didn't need anybody else on stage in the 1950s and 60s except the guy who put a cape on his back. By the 1980s, he had girl singers and dancers, and 20 members of the band. It's fine. So the Stones were going to do it. And then you got word from Charlie's people, Charlie Watts, saying, Charlie is undergoing a procedure. Successful, but he's not.
What was it?
They haven't really.
They didn't explain.
They haven't. No, and that's the weird thing. Or at least I didn't check the last 2 days. But it was very sort of cryptic. Because Charlie had a successful procedure, but he's not up to doing a tour. Because, the man was 80 years old, right? He's not up to doing a tour with the gang.
Which is
Sorry.
different than being seriously ill.
Right.
Just,
Yeah, he needs to recuperate. He just needs to lay low and not. Touring is a hell of a thing, even if you're a Rolling Stone and everything is done for you. We watched that Metallica movie, and you think, well, what's the big deal for the guys to just get on stage and play? Everybody else is doing all the hard work. But no, not really. So, and they even announced, somebody else will be playing the drums.
Yeah. Unexplained medical problem. Yeah, emergency heart surgery.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was emergency heart surgery.
I did not hear the heart part. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Thank you, yeah.
I'll look.
No, because Charlie had undergone throat cancer. He had some kind of throat cancer thing 20 years ago. And was cancer-free, and he was fine, and he was playing drums, and it was great, and it was all fine. And then, the upshot is, I'm sure you know this, that this past week, Charlie Watts passed away. So whatever the procedure was, it may have been a successful surgery, but you know how it goes. You have successful surgery when you're 80, and well, the procedure that they actually did worked, but it weakened every other part of the body, or something else happened, or he got septic, or something, right? So yeah, I'll be going off, as it were, on losing these guys, on losing Tom T. Hall, Don Everly, and Charlie Watts, all in the same week. Brutal.
The press statement said, from the publicist, said he passed away peacefully in a hospital earlier today, surrounded by family, and they want privacy.
Well, sure.
But I did read, read somewhere about the heart stuff, but it wasn't in the official statement.
So, but it's amazing, even knowing that, Charlie may never play with the Rolling Stones again when he bowed out of the tour. There's still, 6 weeks later, you kind of read the paper or you're scrolling through, and it's like Charlie Watts dead at 80. And it was just,
you read that, right?
yeah, but it just hit me. It was like literally, it was a gut punch.
Really?
Even though it's, because, the Stones, when they were the Stones in their heyday, there was nobody like them. Beatles were the greatest band in history. Stones, greatest hard rock band in history. I don't think anybody's really ever gonna. I mean, there are people say, "Oh, the Who." No, Led Zeppelin sometimes, but no. The Stones, man, between 1966 and like 1973, nobody could touch them. And so much of that, so much of that was Mick and Keith, and for a while Mick Taylor and Charlie, and hey, Bill Wyman too, right? Whatever they did, whatever they had at that particular moment of that, I might as well call this Dave Says Bye right now and just do all these guys, since that's it's on my mind and that's what I'm talking about. So we'll stay with Charlie and then we'll roll back to Tom T and Don Everly. Let me just check my notes. It's always good to do that. So here's the deal. Why were the Stones the greatest hard rock band of all time? I mean, because when the obituaries come out, it's like, it was all Charlie, right? Charlie's greatest drummer, the best. They're not saying necessarily the greatest drummer, but they're saying he was the rock steady. He was there. He made the band swing, which I don't even understand that term in context, because he was a jazz drummer.
He said he was the heartbeat of the
heartbeat of the stuff. Every drummer's the heartbeat of the band.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, and Charlie was incredibly great, but it is kind of funny. It's like, okay, when the Stones were not making all that interesting music between, say, 1984 and now, sometimes they were still wrote some good songs, but, when we think of the Stones between 65 and 73, 74-ish, and maybe Into Some Girls and Tattoo You, they still were the Stones. They still had Charlie. But we don't think of that stuff. So Charlie was important. It was also important what Mick Jagger was writing and Keith Richards was writing, the riffs that Keith Richards was coming up with. And, for so many years, it was Bill Wyman on the bass. And for, a lot of years, hey, some credit to Ronnie Wood as well. And Brian Jones back in the early day. I remember, I was reading this past week, people talking about this and their blogs on Facebook and stuff as well. The Stones should they need now to call it a day. They can't call themselves the Rolling Stones anymore. That's over. They shouldn't tour. They should hang with Charlie gone.
Yeah, but a lot of people if people switch out the lead singer, they switch out like the low level, like Van Halen, Journey, like those people do it. They always switch the lead singer.
Yeah. The Stones will never be the same. And Charlie was extraordinary. But you could have said that when Brian died. Because the Stones did lose a key component of their feel and their experimentation and stuff when Brian Jones was lying in that swimming pool. And that was 1969, right, or 8. But they stayed. They said, okay, we got to replace him. And they ended up getting Mick Taylor, who is not as experimental, but is one of the greatest slide rock guitarists ever, ever, ever. And suddenly you heard a sound in like Beggar's Banquet and Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street, where you're just going like, oh my God. And, to have seen them live in the early 1970s, and a lot of that was Mick Taylor. He wasn't up there being flashy or, cute or funny or a Van Halen type or something. Like he was just like there with his big hair, just playing riffs on the guitar, and lead sometimes guitar, trading that with Keith. And so he didn't really fit in that well in the dynamic of the Stones, but at the same time, what he was contributing musically to the Stones was some of the best stuff that they ever did or ever will do. So he came in. There was still the Rolling Stones. Bill Wyman, who I think left the band in like 1990, or maybe a bit later, after only 2 decades with the band, or 25 years with the band, he just sort of, he left. He was an integral part of the early part of the band. They stayed the Stones. So now if it's Mick and Keith and Ronnie Wood, and Ronnie Wood takes all the crap. Ronnie Wood is like, oh, if they only kept Mick Taylor, oh, if Brian had only lived, oh, if they'd only gotten Jeff Beck, or if they'd only gotten so and so forth, then, you know what? As people have said, Ronnie gets along really, really well with Keith. And I think people have said, that's what has helped the band not stop 25 years ago. But the very fact that when Ronnie and Keith lock in, and then they just, there's something about them, they just have so much fun together. And Ronnie tries to get along with everybody, and it's sort of like, maybe with him, they're not the band musically that they could have been, but it's also allowed the Stones to stay together and perhaps going forward. So with no disrespect to Charlie Watts, if Mick and Keith, the Glimmer Twins, and Ronnie want to keep it going on some level, or maybe call themselves Mick and Keith and keep doing, people will come to see them. Check out what this idea, it just occurred to me.
What?
Wouldn't it be unbelievable, even if they just did it once for charity? Wouldn't this be the time, allowing a little bit of more time for things to pass after Charlie going away? But could you imagine as a one-off for a couple, like one at Wembley Stadium, one at like MSG, a couple at Forest Hills, one in Spain, the Stones, right? So you got Mick Jagger on lead vocals and maracas, whatever he's still doing. Got Keith on lead guitar. You got Ronnie trading with rhythm and also semi-lead guitar. So you got that band. Well, what do you need? You need a bass player because Bill Wyman's been retired for all these years. I need a drummer, right? Well, who are the most famous bass player and drummer ever who are still with us and still alive and reasonably well?
Oh.
Paul McCartney.
Oh, wow.
Left-handed bass, right?
Wow.
Am I the only one thinking this? Ringo Starr.
And Ringo did say, Ringo wrote. I saw Ringo tweeted about Charlie.
Yeah, and Paul McCartney did a Twitter video about Charlie as well. So can you imagine Mick Jagger, Keith, and I know this is the last thing I should be talking about with Charlie dead.
Beatles,
Well,
Beat Rollers,
the Stolers, the Rolling Beatles, or just come up with a whole different, like the Remainders.
I think it could be the Blender or something.
The Still Theirs. But is everybody, are light bulbs going on all over the place? Is Lorne Michaels thinking, I couldn't get the Beatles back together on Saturday Night Live in 1976, but what if Mick, Keith, Ronnie, I know, it's always like Mick, Keith, Ronnie, Paul, and Ringo, as like a Wilburys sort of a thing, as a one-off band. Think about it, right? Okay, so now I've spent this whole time so far saying how unimportant Charlie was. Now let me get back to say just that the Stones would not have been so incredible without Charlie. Nobody rocked like him. And this is why, even though the Beatles remain the greatest band in history, there's about a dozen Stone songs that are untouchable in terms of hard rock. The greatest, because of this mix of excitement and beauty. What was that?
Which ones?
And also, Charlie's contribution. I've never been that huge a fan of the song Honky Tonk Woman. But what's the first thing you hear in Honky Tonk Woman? It's like,
Cowbell, right?
yeah, that's Charlie kicking that. That song is so drum, or you can't imagine it without Charlie's drumming in that song. And then songs that I really do love, like Loving Cup on Exile on Main Street, all the fills that he does, just a little drink, from you. I mean, beautiful. A song that is one of my absolute favorite songs, Stones songs, that nobody knows, called Sway. It's the second song of Sticky Fingers, where, yeah, that song belongs to Mick Taylor's lead guitar, which is extraordinary. But just the feel of the drum in that song, the rolls in She's a Rainbow, the build up to the final chorus of Tumbling Dice. I mean, this happened. And I'm actually going to say something good about radio for one of the rare times in my adult life, or in my later adult life. So here's the deal. I was at work, I took a quick check because I had like 30 seconds free a week ago. And I said, oh my God, Charlie died. Charlie Watts died. I was like, didn't know, the gut punch, sitting there at my desk working. And like, okay, I can do this work while listening to music. So I plugged in and I started listening to, I went, let me listen to the last Stones album, the last thing they released, which was called Blue and Lonesome, where they just did a lot of old blues covers. And it's fine. It's a perfectly fine album. I find blues mostly pretty boring, no matter who's doing it. Whether it's some old black guy from 1923 to white guys like the Stones doing it, 3-4 songs, kind of good. So I'm listening to Blue and Lonesome, and it's fine. It's well recorded and mixed, in the pocket. But okay, they're fine. It's perfectly listenable stuff. And after 3 songs, I'm like, no, enough. Fine, they're the Stones. They still sound like the Stones. God bless them. I need to hear Gimme Shelter. So I throw on Gimme Shelter, which is, along the way, it jockeys or had jockeyed back and forth of my all-time favorite songs ever, like Desert Island stuff. Is it Bowie's Heroes? There's a song by Bob Dylan that's in there, and then there's Kashmir by Led Zepp, and Gimme Shelter. And I realized, you know what? Shelter on top. There is nothing quite like the 4.5 minutes of Gimme Shelter. There is literally nothing in rock. Ask Martin Scorsese, who puts the song in every picture except the Age of Innocence. It's like, you've got to have Gimme Shelter in there somewhere. There is, it is the most perfectly put together thrilling rock song ever done. So I listen to it, and it gets me through the last half hour at work. And then I get in the car, and I'm like, okay, Charlie Watts died today, a few hours ago, or it was announced a couple of hours ago. Let me put on the radio. Let me see if anybody in modern America radio gives a shit that this has happened. That, there's this major monument of modern rock and roll. Is anybody paying even attention in corporate radio? So I'm putting on the stations, and it's all the usual crap. And there's the talk radio, and then WINS with just a little bit of news, and I'm trying to find music stations. And music is just the same garbage you hear going into a convenience store or the supermarket, and some ethnic radio. And then I'm poking through on FM, and it takes me, actually less than a minute because I'm just going real quick. And there it is. 10, 15 minutes after I listened to it in the office, somebody was playing Gimme Shelter. I was like, aha. And of course I hear it again because I can hear Gimme Shelter 5 times in a row and not get tired of it. And they play it. And then they start talking about Charlie and the Stones. And they play another Stones song. I think they played She's a Rainbow. And then they play Start Me Up. And then they start talking more about the Stones and Charlie. And they even mentioned that, what was the song? There was, that Painted Black.
Okay.
What? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something.
Please.
Robert Callum says, blues singers are people who make lots of money singing about being poor.
Now they do.
This is your audience, David.
Well, thank you, Robert Calum, who's a friend of the neighborhood and was also a high school alumnus. Yeah, we went to high school together. So, and in modern days, blues is Stevie Ray Vaughan and Eric Clapton. Every time they touch a string, they make $50,000. It was not back in the day of, wow, Blind Lemon Melon or whatever their names were, well, there was a blind Robert something, blind Willie Johnson, Robert Johnson, Lemon something. Haven't listened in a while, as you can see, John Hurt, those kinds of people. So, but yeah, but these guys are on the radio talking about the Stones and telling me something I didn't know or didn't remember. That Paint It Black, which is one of their great songs, was actually kind of more of a riff. There was an idea for the song, but it was the jamming of Charlie and Bill Wyman and Keith in the studio. Or it was Bill Wyman, Charlie, and maybe Brian. It would have been Brian in the studio, even though Jagger Rich would get credit and the writing credit for the song itself. It started as a jam with bass and drum and guitar, and then they brought in the sitar. Brian did for special exotic sound to the song.
On your little xylophone.
Yeah, which is here. Yeah, here's my version of Paint It Black. And then Charlie's drum comes in, and it's extraordinary.
I'll do this.
But I've got to give a shout out. I really do have to say thank you to WBAB Radio on Long Island, because that's what I needed to hear right at that moment. I didn't need to go into the car. I need to hear fucking Kanye West, or I need to hear Jay-Z, or I need to hear Britney Spears, or I need to hear, whoever, Nayo, whatever's on the radio right now, or so I needed to hear some Stones music, and I need to hear some intelligent music lovers talking about, wow, weren't the Stones great? Wasn't Charlie an amazing drummer? And how sad we are all right now to lose him. That's what I needed to hear on the radio, and one station gave me that. Now, maybe I didn't poke around more. Maybe they were doing that on the college stations too, or God knows, all over the country. It's not like in the car I'm doing satellite. I'm not doing the Sirius XM thing or getting stations all over. I'm just like, okay, what's on this radio right here, Long Island? So to the guys who are on WBAB at maybe, when would it have been? Would have been like 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon, back on the day that it was announced that he died. You did a solid. I'm still envious. I still feel I could have done a better job than you guys had I been on the air and saying goodbye to Charlie and picking the songs and talking about him and stuff. That's just jealousy coming out on my part. But at least you did it. And at least the radio station said, oh, go. Do it right. Tribute this fella. And they did. And that's what I needed to hear at that moment. That's what radio should be. That's what radio needs to be. Will never be again, perhaps, but every once in a while. So I can now say that 99% of radio sucks, because it always does, but there's still 1% of radio that's just right when you need it. During that, it's also the time in the hurricane, or when the lights go out, and suddenly, what do? There's no cable. Oh, no internet. There's AM radio. And, it's moving. The storm is moving westward. Light bus says these many houses will go out. And it's like, thank you, radio. I'm sure there's still school kids who are like watching the snow fall the night before. And it's that AM radio, man. It says put on the radio. And if you are in this school district, you have late opening. It's not a whole day, but I still have to go in, right? But anyway, I'm Dave Lefkowitz. We're talking about Mick and Keith and Charlie. Let me tell some more Charlie stuff, and then I also, not to completely disregard the deaths of Tom T. Hall and Don Everly as well. But what else do I want to say? It bugged me a little bit that the one story they told over and over in all these news items and things about Charlie. And it's, it wasn't Charlie great? Was it the story of him losing his temper because Mick was at some party, was probably drunk and stoned. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And he calls down to Charlie's hotel room. And Charlie, Charlie was supposedly the gentleman fella and the guy who wasn't doing. Meanwhile, he was as coked out and messed up on heroin and alcohol for a while, for a short while, as Keith ever was. Right? Well, maybe not as much as Keith, but but as the other guys too. Charlie had his issues, and this was a period when Charlie was having one of his issues. So Mick calls down from this party and probably wants to get the band together and sings. Where's my drummer? And hangs up. And the story is a funny story. Charlie, and it's in Keith Richards' My Life or A Life book. So it's real. It happened, or at least whatever Keith remembers, it happened in his memory. So Charlie, woken up by Mick Jagger saying, "Where's my drummer?" Gets up, puts on, takes a shower, puts on his bespoke clothing because that was his thing. He was not the handsomest man in the world, but he wore like really tailored, expensive, great suits, and he was always really put together. Put on a little cologne, goes up, goes up to the party, comes in, goes to Mick Jagger, and just socks him in the face, and says, "You're my singer." And he just turns around and walks out. Right, and I think he probably did feel bad because he cleaned himself up, thank goodness. And he was married to the same woman for many years. So it just bugged me that they're making Charlie out to be well, first of all, to tell that one story about Charlie in his obituary, as if that's the nature of his character. Well, really, no, the story about Charlie is an unbelievable drummer. And what made him that way, aside from loving jazz and getting some techniques from that, but then also trying to make him well Charlie. Oh, he never cheated on his wife, and he was always this, and he was always, and he would eschew the ridiculous party lifestyle, except for a couple of years when he was out of control.
I thought he was just an introvert. I mean, why does it have to be so?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You're trying and shoehorn the guy as like he's the angel of the Stones and Mick is the bad boy devil. It's like, no.
They have to do it's like when people write a news story, it's a certain arc, right? Like it's human interest or it's like conflict, so they have to have some kind of role. Like
right,
everybody plays a role, like in a band, like somebody's the bad boy, somebody's the one addicted, somebody's in rehab.
Yeah, and meanwhile it's all it's everywhere. The Beatles too. McCartney's sort of the bad guy, except he's not. And Lennon's sort of the.
Who's the bad guy?
McCartney was,
Really?
probably fairly, but it doesn't come out that way. And he wasn't.
No.
But at the same time, he was also sort of controlling of the band at a certain period of time, and
that's also
yeah. So
there's various music documentaries.
Yeah. But this I like to say, as I mentioned before, Chuck Leavell has toured with the Stones since 1982. He was on our show. Oh. He's a keyboardist, a piano player, an exceptional one. And he said, quote, "There's been no man finer, more elegant, and more beautiful to walk the earth than Charlie Watts.
Wow.
His sense of what and what not to play was unsurpassed." That was one of the things about Charlie.
That's jazz.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, jazz is like understanding I don't know, I mean, I'm not a musician, Lord knows, but understanding the relationship of like, when people are playing, who gets to go out front, who gets to stand back, who gets to...
Yeah.
I think it's all about integration of people playing music.
And let's not forget, like in the 60s and especially in the early 70s, one of the things they were doing at concerts is like, oh, it's the drum solo time.
Oh, yeah.
And like for 10 minutes, and it's exciting for about 30 seconds, and then the audience is like, okay. And this is the singer's going to the bathroom. Everybody in the stands is like, okay, this is the time to get some peanuts. And then finally the drum solo ends. For everyone except Mickey Hart, where the drum solo goes on for like 20 minutes. And then they come back, drum solo's over. Let's get back to Inagaga the Biga. So, but the Stones weren't doing that, and Charlie never did that. It's sort of going, he was not a showy drummer, he was not a flashy drummer. And you looked at him and he'd be playing, and he wasn't like whacking the sticks, he wasn't going crazy like Keith Moon, and he wasn't being like Bonham. And yet, again, somehow, with him just steadily on, keeping the beat with perfect little fills, they made, a dozen of the most exciting rock songs ever. That's Charlie too. Anyway, let's talk very, I want to say very briefly or very quickly, but let's not forget that we also lost Don Everly. He died on August 21st. Phil had died about 7 years earlier. So the Everly brothers, in modern time, they seem a bit minor in comparison to a lot of other groups of the era, and yet we cannot forget them. I mean, you think about some of these songs, which a lot of them, by the way, were written by Felice and Boudleaux Bryant, names you've probably never heard before, but these were the guys who wrote songs like Bye Bye Love. That's an extraordinary, it's a jaunty, sad song, the kind that for a couple of years the Everly Brothers specialized in. When was the last time you really listened to Wake Up Little Susie? What a song that is, especially for its time. I mean, think about, it's just, wake up, little Susie, wake up, right? Okay, wake up. What has happened is these teenagers have gone on a date, and now they're falling asleep in the car. It's now 4 o'clock in the morning, and now he's got to bring her home to her parents, who've been waiting up. And now, what is everybody going to say? What are the parents going to say? What is the implication when they go, ooh la la? Think about it, in 19, whatever year this was, 58, 59, there's a lot going on in that song that is like, oh my goodness, for the time. Not to mention, the song is incredibly catchy. You've got, and again, they didn't write it, Phil and Don Everly, but it's quite a song anyway. Speaking of a song that they did write, Kathy's Clown, one of their last great hits. Don Everly wrote that one, right, with the great harmonies. And what's interesting about that song is there's no verses. It kind of starts in the chorus and goes into these different bridges, and yet it's still an amazing number. And a beautiful song that wasn't even on my radar until last week, called Devoted to You. Listen to that. It's a haunting, beautiful ballad, perfectly done by the Everly Brothers. As I mentioned at the start of the show, without them, no Birds, right? Simon and Garfunkel, the sound of the Beatles, any harmony group, Tegan and Sarah, if you want to move it up to more modern times. Bangles, I don't think would be, or Go-Go's would have been the same without the Everlys. So, and it's fair to say that the Everly Brothers and Buddy Holly paved a sort of a path away from 1950s, the whole doo-wop sound, into not just rockabilly, but the real feel of kind of singer-songwriter rock and roll and folk rock and stuff that would come forward in a big way in the next decade. So a big farewell also to Don Everly, who passed this past week. And not to be left out of the picture, Tom T. Hall. You know more Tom T. Hall songs than you think you do. Honestly, gosh. He's a guy who wrote and sang, and this is the dumbest goddamn song ever, but you all know it. I love mangled baby ducks, killing folks with trucks. I'm doing different lyrics to it, but you know that song. And I love you too.
Oh,
you know
thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome, dear. You never heard that song?
Yes, I did, but it was scary.
I love
that mangled ducks thing has just got me.
Killing men with hooks. So whatever it is. But he wrote that. His lyrics are just as bad as mine.
Too much Gotham.
Yeah, we've been watching too much of the Gotham series. But he also wrote Beer, which was not an omelet, but a fairly frequent song popping up on the Dr. Demento show. Classic, catchy beer house song. As a matter of fact, I like beer. Great. No, it's a great number. And he's the guy who wrote the Jeannie C. Riley hit Harper Valley PTA.
Oh, wow.
Which is a really interesting thing about these hypocrites who are all in PTA, and they have one face that they show to the world and one face of who they really are.
I think that's called humanity.
It is. But to put that in a country pop song back in the day, that was a pretty cool thing to do. They called Tom T. Hall the storyteller because that's what he did. He wrote songs for Johnny Cash, George Jones, Bobby Bare, Loretta Lynn, and his stories were generally they were simple. It was kind of like he didn't gussy them up, and he didn't always feel the need to have, and the moral of this story is, it's not a parable of this. It's more like, basic daily life, things we notice in daily life. And there's some meaning under them, but I'm not going to underline it. I'm not going to highlight it and put it in bold. It's sort of like, here's a story of a person Now, a person that you might kind of feel you know in life, or you can just imagine that you know in life. And here's a couple of verses about them. And thank you and bye. That's a classic Tom T. Hall song. Robert Christgau, Dean of American Rock Critics, noted that Tom T. Hall could. His thing is that, yeah, he could go maudlin, and he could sometimes, skirt the line and fall over the line of tear jerking, and then your typical, my dog died under my truck sort of. But when he skewed away from that, and he was just kind of taking snapshots of life in his very observant, particular way, he was a master. He was absolutely amazing. It's hard to imagine John Prine without Tom T. Hall. And Prine ended up covering a song called Old Dogs, Children, and Watermelon Wine on a whole tribute album. And if you, I did this also this week, if you go to like a Tom T. Hall best of or greatest hits album, if you go on YouTube or Spotify or something like that, and just listen to 5 songs of his, you'll get an understanding. Even if it's not your kind of music, if you're not a country person, you'll get an understanding. Oh, this guy was talented. This guy was a master. This guy knew what he was doing as a songwriter. And it is a loss when Tom T. Hall goes. He died on August 20th. So farewell to Don and Charlie and Tom from the neighborhood. Here on Dave's Gone By, live on this Saturday, August 28th, 2021. Dave Lefkowitz with you, reminding you of a couple of things. First of all, I mentioned that, I talked about Chuck Level just a few minutes ago, the keyboard player. You want to hear the interview with him that we did on this program? It's pretty simple. Go to davesgoneby.com, our official website, type in Lebel or Chuck. It'll bring up Chuck Cleaver, too, who from the wonderful band Wussy, who was on the show about 2-3 years ago. And it'll bring up, there's the whole episode that he was on. You can listen to the episode. Or it'll also bring up, since we extract our interviews and post them separately as well. So if you just want to listen to the interview with Chuck Level talking about the Stones, talking about his career in music, you can find that as well. It's all at davesgoneby.com. It's absolutely free. In the past couple of years, it's been video. From about 2002, when we started, up until 2018, we were just a podcast. We were a radio program on terrestrial radio. The audio is there. Hundreds, literally, like just about 812 previous episodes. We lost a couple over the years, but nearly all of them are there as MP3s. You can download them. You can also just stream them on your computer if you don't want to, if you're worried about getting things from downloading stuff on the web. You don't have to. Just click play. Literally, just click play. And either the audio or if it was a video show, the video will be playing at davesgoneby.com. I want to remind you also that we post our shows on the nonprofit website archive.org. Archive.org has both our full shows and our interviews. We also post our podcasts at castbox.fm. This is for people who just want to hear the audio. This show is like 3, sometimes 3.5 hours long. People are like, I got things to do. So, fine. Plug in, listen, hear this voice for 3.5 hours, and then go anywhere by using castbox.fm to listen to the show as a podcast. We also post our show on YouTube, in our Dave's Gone By YouTube channel. Plus, you can find our last 4 years of video shows, since we've been doing them live on Facebook, just by scrolling down on our Dave's Gone By Facebook page. So many ways to watch and listen to Dave's Gone By, including, let's not forget, Monday early morning, 1 o'clock, Tuesday early morning, 4 o'clock. Yes, those are our time slots until October, on public access on Channel 20 if you're in Nassau County and you get Altice Cablevision. So yeah, it's a 1-hour excerpt of Dave's Gone By. 1 o'clock Mondays, 4 a.m. Tuesdays on Channel 20 if you have Altice Cable. And again, that's not the best way to see the show, but if you happen to be flipping channels and you're like, well, good Lord, it's not Home Shopping, and it's not one of the damn news channels, and it's not, Spanish preachers. What is this? this is this. You'll see this on your actual television sets. You're watching Dave's Gone By. So here's the deal. As I promised, we got more stuff to do on this show. We've got, I didn't, I talked about just now, Charlie and Tom T and losing Don. A little bit more of Charlie Watts stuff to do. As a matter of fact, why don't we do this and then we can go to really crimes and old times. If you know this program, if you know my personality, you know that I can't sometimes let things go, especially when it's bad news, tragic, sad, terrible news. I can't let it go without making some jokes about it. That's just me. That's the program. So, ladies and gentlemen, and that is because I have a sick mind. I call this segment My Sick Mind. So, like a week ago, I probably made some jokes about Afghanistan or somebody else died. I mean, they're terrible. They're evil. They're probably the reason I'm not on terrestrial radio or TV or what have you, but I can't help myself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, with the passing of Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones, I do have a segment this week of, well, it's devoted to Charlie Watts. It's My Sick Mind. My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick mind.
Well, talk about bad taste.
My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick mind.
You sick little monkey.
Oh, David.
Hold on. Yeah.
Robert asked if you can repeat about the hours and days on Altice Channel 20 or reply here. Where can I link it?
Oh, God. Well, just write it out because there's no real link. But thank you for asking. Was that Robert?
Yes.
Robert, again, it's just excerpts of the same shows you can watch on davesgoneby.com. But if you're a late sleeper or a really early riser, 1 a.m. on Mondays, so literally like Sunday night, wake up Monday, 1 in the morning, we're there on Channel 20 on Altice Cable, or if you're like a really early riser, you have to get to work really early on Tuesday, early mornings, 4 a.m., and these are all Eastern time, by the way, 4 a.m., Channel 20, also on Altice Cable. It's the there are two public access channels on Altice. One is Channel 20. The other is Channel 115. Why they don't put them next to each other is so beyond me. But all right, whatever. And I'm always begging, like when I send in the application, it's like I want to be on 20. Sorry, what? Yeah. Thank you, Beth. So
Robert said thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you, Robert, for asking. Thank you for caring and sharing.
He's been on your show. He's
Yeah.
an alum.
So here's the deal, though. We're doing My Sick Mind, devoted to Charlie Watts. So this is a special one for Stones fans. So these are, God help me, the top 10 songs to be played at Charlie Watts' funeral. Top 10 Rolling Stone songs, perfectly crafted for Charlie Watts. And then when I was putting these together, it occurred to me that so many Stone songs have dark undercurrents and dark negative titles that they really could be. All of these have to do with death or passing or loss. But I picked out some of the most prescient, if that's the word, for Charlie Watts' funeral. Number 1, Time Was Not on My Side. B, It's All Over Now. 3, Out of Time. 4, Dead Flowers, so-called The Florist. 5, Paint It Even Blacker.
Oh.
Number 6,
Mr. Peabody.
Off the Ventilator Blues.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Number 7, Time Waits for No One, especially you. Number 8, He's So Cold. Number 9, Sleep Tonight, and Tomorrow Night, and the night after that, and the night after that. And finally, number 10, Get Off of His Cloud. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And then more seriously, hey, Charlie, you know, I wouldn't mind hearing these at his funeral. Shattered, Miss You, Going Home, and We Love You. So, farewell to Charlie Watts. It is 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm a deeply, deeply sick person. But I'm not the guy who puts together a cop log for the Greeley Tribune or the 100 years ago column for that newspaper. Somebody else does that. Somebody else had the idea at this actual, real Northern Colorado newspaper, right, to gather things that were really ridiculous and funny from actual police bloggers of crimes being committed or going into newspapers 100 years ago and seeing how ridiculous some of the items to our modern eyes were that were published back then. So that is why we do the segment that we, meaning me, like to call Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Yeah. Ba-ga-ga-ga. Ba-ga-da-doo. Fiddly-wiggly-dee. Yes, Greeley Crimes and Old Times. We do it every week here on Dave's Gone By, based on items that were in the Greeley Tribune newspaper. I used to have 2 copies of the Trib to show. Now I seem to have lost one of them, so I still have, thank God. I will never, ever lose the How a Tree Can Kill You front page of this actual real newspaper. This is that. Let's turn this over the proper way. There it is. Remember that this is just an artist's rendering. Do not be frightened. Most trees end up using various small arms fire. They do not use knives to kill you. So, ladies and gentlemen, and honey, are you ready to play? Well, not to play. Are you ready for
Yes,
Greeley Crimes and Old Times, ladies and gentlemen? We mix up recent calls to the police department with old stories in the news. Let us begin with some recent criminality. A caller. Oh, hold on. Hello. A caller near 10th Avenue. Reported a woman who was known for having knives in her car, throwing things at cars, and threatening to stab a man.
Nice.
I could just stab a man. If the woman is known for having knives in her car,
How are you known for having knives in your car?
Right.
Like is your bumper sticker like honk if you like knives or something?
because I can understand if like
she's the guy on the Gotham's sister-in-law. What's his name? Zaz.
Zaz, Victor Zaz.
Yeah, that's his sister-in-law.
No, but it's sort of like you could know like your neighbor goes to the gym. Or Mr. Rogers goes for an early morning swim because you've seen every day, same time, coming out. He's got his gym bag. He's dressed different. Okay, fine. That neighbor is known for going to the gym. This neighbor is known for their cooking because around the holidays they always make a cake or pies or cookies, and they bring them. But how would you like to be in a neighborhood where the neighbor across the way, she keeps knives in her car?
I like it.
It's a hell of a thing to be
knives
known
in the
for.
car, the knives in the house are knives at them, right?
Well, not. We all have knives in the house.
No, but I mean, they're not talking about like normal stuff.
Yeah. A man on 19th Avenue called. Oh, here he is. Hello, man on 19th Avenue. He called because his roommates told him to move out. Why? They had gotten into an argument about. Do you want to even take a stab on this?
What show to watch on Netflix?
No.
No.
I will give a hint. We were literally, and this is complete serendipity, we were literally just watching this on an old episode of RDev. Arrested Development. Literally. They got into...
About Richard Simmons?
You're so close, in a way.
Ron Popeil?
Still incredibly close.
Help me.
The man was... the roommate threw this guy out of his house. Why? They had gotten into an argument about corn dogs.
I agree. I mean, that's real. That's real.
Is it really? Well, it's funny. This morning we were just watching an episode about a failed item that the father had been making of trying to have a corn dog maker that just burns everybody who gets near it. Anywho, yeah. This is real. These, by the way, are real. A caller on 11th Avenue reported. Uh-huh. He reported that a man threw up outside a strange car in the parking lot and urinated on a nearby building. Do you think alcohol might have been involved a little bit?
I hope so.
I just wonder which is. He threw up outside a strange car and urinated on a nearby building. Which is worse? Would it have been worse if he had thrown up outside the building and urinated out of the car? Would have been more interesting to watch. Anywho, let's get to some old-timey things, shall we? These are things that were literally in the newspaper in northern Colorado back in 1921. Here's an advertisement. Speaking of weapons, U.S. cartridges and shells. This is an ad. Your rifle is your friend. You treat it as something more than cold metal and wood. You couldn't sleep if you had used it and not cleaned it properly. That is why the special non-fouling, non-erosive priming is important for U.S. cartridges and shells. I just hate the fouling shells.
Me too.
If I'm gonna be shooting, if I'm gonna be taking target practice at other humans, I want some non-fouling shells. Oh, we have a. Is that my? Hold on one moment. Somebody's phone is ringing. I guess Joyce's mother doesn't listen to this program. So, heaven forbid family should actually watch the show. So, anywho, we're doing Gritty Crimes and Old Times. She's going in the other room to talk to her mom. So, here's the deal. Mix of old and new. Let's do something also old. Oh, I want to save that one for when she's back. Okay, let me do another advertisement. Since we can't do this kind of show without advertising, U.H. Harrington's famous early netter cross cantaloupe are now ready for market. Who knew? Buy some and plant the seed for your own famous cantaloupe. Half a mile south of the sugar factory, right there in Greeley and Weld County, Colorado. Early netter cross cantaloupe. So, which I think, it's amazing how progressive they were 100 years ago. They had cantaloupes, right? And then they had cantaloupes that really thought they were being watermelons. So they had these cross cantaloupes, and the surgeons were okay with this. They didn't need special bathrooms at that point, but they could have had them. It would have been all right. So, power to the cross cantaloupes. I really believe in that. Let's do some new times here on Gritty Crimes and Old Times. A man on East 20th Street said he walked outside with a fake sword as an attempt to get a man taking pictures to leave. So here's the deal. This man in Colorado, northern Colorado, told cops he walked outside with a fake sword to get a man who was taking pictures to leave. As opposed to the guy who was just taking pictures, calling the cops and saying, holy crap, there's a guy with a sword coming at me. I guess the guy with the sword said, hey, look, if you get a phone call from people saying that I'm swishing the air with a sword, it's okay, it's just fake. There's a guy taking pictures. I'm not actually going to hurt him. I just want him to poop his pants and leave. So, and again, recent times. This actually happened just a week or two ago. A caller on 10th Street says his neighbors were digging a tunnel from their house to his. So, unless the guy lives next to Hans Moleman, I can't even begin to imagine. They were digging a tunnel so that I guess they could go all the way down from their garden, plow under, come up in his living room. Why? And that is the one disappointment with the stories that come out and that are published in these columns in the Tribune. There's never follow-up. There's never a sense of, well, the police investigated and they found that the guy was high on meth when he called it. No, it's just sort of like, there it is. They kind of sit, they're almost like haiku, right? They're there. They sit there, and it is just for us to wonder, like, were the neighbors actually doing this? Was the guy imagining this? Did the guy hear? I mean, it's just there. They were going to dig a tunnel from their house to his. And nothing else really need be said about that. Let's do one more crime here. A caller on First Avenue reported a man riding a bike with a gun in his hand. Okay, that I would call the cops. About. Unless it's a... Are you allowed to just walk around with a rifle? I never understood how these laws work. There's concealed carry permits where you conceal whatever you're carrying. And then there's like something that you cannot conceal, that isn't meant to be concealed, but you have a license for it. You're legally allowed. I don't even know if you need a license for a rifle or a shotgun or something like that. Imagine riding a bike with a shot. Well, you have your friend riding a shotgun in a car, so I guess you could, with a bike, turning would be difficult. It's like, oh, sorry, delivering a newspaper. Okay, here you go. Oh, sorry, you get a free week. I can't even begin to imagine. But, or just riding a bike with a gun. But this whole concealed carry, I don't know how that actually works. It's like the people who... Remember after January 6th when they had, the protests and the storming of the Capitol, and they had that couple in a neighborhood when everything was going crazy. It might have been before that. They had this white, fairly well-off couple outside their house, and they saw, Black Lives Matter people marching very nearby, and sometimes damaging stores and doing things. And they're like, you're not coming on our property. Literally holding guns as if to say, you do what you gotta do, but if you come near us, you're dead. And I think they were taken to court. I don't know what the whole ramifications, I didn't follow it up, were. But, they're allowed to have guns, they're on their own property, but at the same time, something nooky about that. I guess I gotta go follow up and see whatever happened to those folks. But anywho, let's go elsewhere. Let us go to another part of the world, because this is kind of fun. This is, even on Greeley Crimes of Old Times, we sometimes add in things that are from other places. So not every single story is from Greeley or Evans or Fort Collins or that area of Colorado. Some of these are once or twice per show. We throw in an odd news item from somewhere else. In this case, this is from everywhere, all over the country, all over the world. I received an email. Everything okay, or can we talk?
We're debating whether she needs to go.
We're on the air, so...
Yeah, so she needs to have medical attention.
Can we... Joyce's mom called. She's worried about... She had...
I'll just say, no, we're just discussing whether she needs... She's going to call the doctor, but we have to see if she needs to get... medical attention, and Barbara and Joseph are there. So, we're working stuff out. Yeah,
okay. Thank God it's not an urgent...
It wasn't an emergency, but it was urgent that I responded to
well, or it could be an urgent care kind of thing, although... Let's just... do you want to say what happened, or no? No,
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. We are just about to do... This is actually germane. This particular moment, we have an elsewhere item. It's an international elsewhere item. I received an email this week, out of the blue, seemed spammy, but not quite, from the International Paying Foundation. Don't ask me why. The International Paying Foundation reminded me that not only is September back to school month, and, it's Jewish holiday month, but also, did you know that September is Sepsis Awareness Month? It's actually called Sepsis Awareness Month. It is also Atrial Fibrillation Awareness Month, Polycystic Ovary Syndrome Month, or PCOS Month, as they like to call it, and Rabbi Saul knew about this one, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month.
There we go.
Not only that, there's so many diseases that they break it down not only into months but into days. Did you know that September 13th, very big day, September 13th is World Sepsis Day of Action. That's the one that caught me. When I first was glancing at this and was about to delete the email, I suddenly saw the word sepsis and world. I'm like, ooh. And then I said, there's a World Sepsis Day. a World Sepsis Day of Action on September 13th, which, by the way, the same day is shared with Celiac Disease Awareness Day of Action. I'm not sure how active someone with that can be since they're on the toilet all day, but big day, September 13th, according to the International Ping Foundation. By the way, September 28th, Rabies Awareness Day of Action. And I get, none of this is a joke. August is not yet over. Did you know? So don't panic. It's okay. You have not missed out on Gastroparesis Awareness Month. So get your free stickers today here on Tapes Gone By. We're doing Gritty Crimes and Old Times. And you know what? Let's stay elsewhere. We're international. Let's go really far away from Colorado and New York, all the way to Australia, mates, for this next item. A scuba diver off Australia noticed some odd behavior whenever he came into contact with male sea snakes. The venomous reptiles would coil around his fins and start licking the water around him. And they'd also even chase him underwater. Why? Why do you think they did that? I think you even sent me this article.
I'm not saying.
Well, yeah. They mistook him, presumably, for a female eel, and it's mating season. And a new study, because of course, this needs a study, the diver and another researcher analyzed 158 olive sea snakes, or their Latin name is Apsaurus laevis, and I guess if you're caught by one of them, you're in some Saurus, over several years in the Great Barrier Reef. These sexually frustrated snakes displayed elaborate behaviors used during sea serpent courtships. The researchers think the snakes can't see shapes very well underwater. You think? Lead author Rick Shine said, quote, "Males are very aroused and active while looking for their, quote, girlfriends." He noted that during mating seasons, males will chase and flick out their tongues.
There we go.
Females will try to flee, just like with humans when men try to do that. Although the data were collected more than 25 years ago, the researchers still think the findings are relevant today. How? Again, let's chase sea snakes and figure out why they're trying to have sex with human divers, as opposed to figuring out a way to take some of this water that the snakes are in, transport it to dry territory in Australia, and stop fires there. And then even recollect the water after it's done its job so that it goes back into the ocean. Let's do that. But no. Let's see. Let's spend thousands and thousands of dollars. And say, this is why the sea snake sticks its tongue out. Let's do that. Anywho, a little bit more of Gritty Crimes and Old Times on this Saturday morning live on Dave's Gone By. A caller on 10th Street. The phones were quiet for a while. Hello. A caller on 10th Street says his neighbors... I did that one. A caller on 17th Avenue. I'm sorry, caller. I mistook you for the caller on 10th Street. We have some crossed lines here. They're putting in a new phone system. I'm very sorry. The caller on 17th Avenue reported a silver Chevy Equinox dropped off 50 containers of laundry detergent to a white Ford Focus. Okay. Now it's kind of funny, months ago we did read a story about how on some level they're using laundry detergent to make drugs or meth, and I'm not joking about this, there's something about either Tide or the pods or something involving detergent. And literally that's why in poor neighborhoods they were actually stealing from stores not expensive food, not inexpensive food, not more valuable thing. They're just stealing detergent. And apparently that's an important thing in drug making. So here's, I guess they were calling in a report of a silver Chevy Equinox offloading 50 containers of detergent to a Ford Focus. How that whoever was calling that in knew that it was exactly 50.
That's suspicious.
as opposed to 46, you know, because you lose count after 20, right? Don't know. Not saying. Huh? Do you have all your noisemakers there?
I do.
Because not to scare anybody, not to freak anybody out, but we do have right now a Lupton alert! Lupton alert! Oh my god, I actually have to play this. This is so important. Fort Lupton alert. Oh, why isn't it playing? Come on.
Lupton.
There we go.
Alert, 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 alert.
A Fort Lupton alert isn't really, all it means is that this next story happens to occur in Fort Lupton. And I do love the name Lupton. Please say it with me. Lupton. I just love the way it rolls into your mouth. Lupton. Lupton. It's like Wimpy in the Popeye cartoons. I always forget him saying it like Lupton. You know, the lower jaw falling of Lupton. Lupton. This is a Lupton alert. Not only that, this is one of the most important. This is one of the defining moments of the days gone by. Facebook, your podcast, your program, your the stream. Because not only is this a Lupton alert from 100 years ago,
Wow.
it is also a hobo alert. Hobo alert. This is a double alert. Hon, aren't you unbelievably excited? Are you vibrating as we speak?
Is it a hobo in Fort Lupton?
Yes! 2 federal agents stopped a freight train at Pierce in northern Colorado and opened the doors of one car. 50 to 60 hobos fled the train, running in all directions. No one knows where they went, but 16 of them caught a large taxi.
What? Wait. How do 16?
It's like a clown car.
First of all, how do they have the money for a taxi?
Well,
Is it like Uber?
well, you know, probably 16 people give 1 penny, and that's a taxi ride. You know, back in or 2 or
How do you
5
get a
cents.
taxi? They didn't like hobos. How would a taxi take hobos?
That's true. Guess where they wanted to go?
Chuck E. Cheese?
In where? In what town? In what place?
Lupton?
Fort Lupton! So these 50 or 60 hobos scoot off the train with cops chasing them. 16 of them hit a taxi, and they want to go to Fort Lupton.
This is Gotham. That's Gotham.
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, well, it is. I don't know if we can top that, ladies and gentlemen. I really honestly don't know if we can. So I'm just going to table Grilly Crabs and Old Times, but not before we have, first of all, something very exciting, my friends. In the mail this week, guess what came in the mail, my friends? No, it's not $1 million. No, it's not a job offer from WBAB.
Oh.
It is, in fact, a potato.
Nice.
Look at him, hon. Look at his long, luxurious, wavy hair. Yeah, this kind of got seriously damaged.
What happened to him?
Well, his ribbon needs work.
No,
This is problematic.
His work is no, David.
Yeah.
David, let me see. Return him to me. Oh no.
Yeah, the ribbon is was.
He's special.
But look at the face. The face is beautiful.
David, that ribbon, he needs an updo. We gotta take him to the salon.
He's got his 2 ass tags, both of them. So that's really exciting. He does not have the cardboard tag, but he is, ladies and gentlemen, a new addition to the neighborhood, another potato. This is making his debut on the show. Potato, what is your favorite thing in the world? Ketchup. Well done, Potato. Welcome to the family. Oh, he's got a little hair in his nose. There we go. They all have a little hair sticking out of their nose. Potato, guess what? You're going to have a friend because look what else came in the mail.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed. Doing this on the air, I've waited all week to do this. First of all, look at this. Look at this. It's the whole mishpuchi, my friends, of the vegetable friends. There they are, including a new tomato with sort of a side-eye thing. He's going to need corrective lenses. With a broccoli. Oh my God! Look what happened to him.
Oh yes, he has
He's Labata broccoli.
Male pattern baldness, David.
Yeah.
Male
He's like a 40-year-old.
He's got male pattern baldness.
Oh God! Put me some Béarnaise sauce.
Some Rogaine.
Give me some Jamie Bernard sauce, ladies and gentlemen. Plus, the other thing fell out. Plus corn. Corn whose eye is like, this is the most messed up eye I've ever seen on one of these vegetables. It's just like, You want to talk about side eye? and a pink tag on him.
What happened to him?
I don't know.
Let me see the tag.
He's giving you the side eye. It's very pretty. It's pink.
Oh, that's pretty.
Isn't it pretty and pink? But ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing, besides the bag that these things came in, look what came out.
Whoa.
Another potato.
He's very round.
Look at him. Look at he's
Let me see him.
He's a big boy.
But he's so round. He looks like he got squished flat. Like he's so round.
Yeah, he's literally like an orange. The shape of him. He's like Carl Pilkington and the old Ricky Gervais things. Look at that. But he's a lot of ribbon here. Great eyes, nice fur. He's got the double ass tag, and he's got the tag. Ladies and gentlemen,
he's so round.
This is a beautiful, exciting day in the neighborhood. So as we move out of Greeley Crimes at All Times, let's play some music. Let's play some music by the man who is waiting patiently in our waiting room to be our guest on Dave's Gone By. He is a world musician, plus a regular musician, a klezmer musician. He is also a teacher, an instructor, a theorist in music. Should be a lot of fun because he, Moshe Denburg, that is, will be talking to the one, the only, Rabbi Saul Solomon about his life, Denburg's life, that is, not the rabbi's life, music and various and sundry things. So let's hear a little bit of a song called Dark Red Ruby by Moshe Denburg as we wait for the great Rabbi Saul. It plays in a moment. There's silence. I'll hang with you. Here it comes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very excited and delighted to be with you here this Shabbos on the Dave's Gone By Facebook, your podcast, your programmio of the stream. My name is Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I'm thrilled and delighted. He even has his microphone off. He's all ready. please welcome to the neighborhood. Let me tell you a little bit about the man who helped form the Vancouver Cultural Orchestra. Who knew there was culture in Vancouver? There is, go figure. And he founded a band called Tzimmes many years ago. Tzimmes, of course, being a Jewish fruity vegetable stew. Basically, I eat it because it has prunes in it and it helps me, But Tzimmes has a retrospective coming out. He's going to tell us all about it. Won't you please welcome to the neighborhood, Moshe? Was it Moshe? Denburg. Shalom. How are you, Moshe?
Very well. Rabbi Solomon, it's a pleasure to be with you on this very, very festive Shabbos.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it is a pleasure to be with me as well. So, and it's festive. It's almost the Jewish holidays. How, at this point in your life, I know this is Shabbos and you're on the air, so you're not Orthodox. How
really.
Jewish are you?
Well, I grew up in a rabbinical family, actually. So I'm not terribly observant, but of course, there's a lot of tradition in my family. My father was an Orthodox rabbi, what was then known as a modern Orthodox in Montreal. And an uncle of mine had a long, long career as a chazan, as a cantor in the States. Actually, he worked in Akron, Ohio for a while, and then in Baltimore. He passed away at the age of 90 a couple of years ago. So I've got a lot of, if you know the word yichus is connection with, legitimacy type of thing, where I have rabbis in the family and cantors and things like that. So there's been a musical streak in the family, an artistic streak. Also, my mother is was very artistic, may she rest in peace. And of course, my father had a great singing voice, and of course my uncle, and so I combine music and musicality somewhat legitimately, or let's say honestly, as they say. And so that's a bit of my background. I grew up in a rabbinical religious background. My first influences were the music of the synagogue.
Did you ever feel tempted to actually become a chazan or the cantor or a rabbi or a moil?
Well, moil is a little bit beyond my ken.
All right, don't be snippy about it.
Good one. Okay,
No,
anyway.
But no, since you were in that family, a lot of times the father's the Rebbe or the grandfather's the Rebbe, so the son becomes the Rebbe, etc. You, not quite, or?
Well, not really. I didn't, obviously there was this desire on the part of my father for his sons, we're two brothers, his sons to, continue the profession somewhat, maybe be a chazan, but I guess it was just not... for a variety of reasons, I didn't go in that direction, right? So I basically went in a more artistic direction, and I guess I was attracted to some degree by the secular world around me, and so that's how I continued. I developed my career. I also spent a good amount of time in Israel when I was younger.
What is your very first memory of being in Israel?
Well, landing in Israel in 1966, actually, at the age of 17. I'm 72 now. So it was landing there, and it was like everybody breaks into applause. I think we went to El Al, I'm not sure. And then being with some friends who were Israeli friends who basically were helpers in the summer camp, a Hebrew-speaking summer camp that I was part of for my entire youth. And so the first night I was with them and staying there. And that's what I remember. My first memory is just getting to Israel and being in a very different place with a different climate, but still quite familiar because I already spoke Hebrew.
Can I ask, how long were you? I'm sure you visited and come back and forth, but did you live in Israel for a significant period of time?
I lived for 7 years in Israel at that time. I started my studies and my career in earnest in Israel. In fact, I wrote Hebrew rock songs, one of the first musicians to write Hebrew rock songs.
Was it, what was her name, Tammy Adler, or what was her name?
That's right. How did you know that?
Because I did some research. How the hell do you think I knew it? What, you think I know Tammy Adler off the top of my head? But Yeah, no,
Rabbi Solomon does research. This is a rabbi from rabbis.
it's in the Talmud. I looked on the Aleph, and there she was, Tammy Adler, 1968.
That's right.
Like a single. Yeah.
That's right. She had a gig with CBS Records, and we were very good friends. And she got me a commission to write 2 songs, and we put out a single.
And you arranged them too, didn't you? Did you work?
Well, they were my pieces. It was Tammy Adler and the Electric Stage. In Hebrew, Habama HaChashmalit.
Right.
That was the name of our beat group. We did all kinds of covers of, we did Beatles, we did Bee Gees, but we also were trying to get into something that was a bit more forward-looking for Israel at that time.
Actually,
and that's it. Yeah.
No, you said, when did you come in? 67 or 68?
66, I went to Israel in September, and then I came back home in 73.
What? Wow. So you were bracketed in a way by 2 of the wars there. You were there.
I did not stay the Yom Kippur War. I was already gone when the Yom Kippur War started in 73, but I was there in Jerusalem for the 6-day war.
What was that like?
Unreal. Unreal.
A little bit more than one word, please.
More than one word.
Memories.
Basically, it was a little scary at the beginning because the attitude of, let's say, Arab media around, they start to broadcast in Israel how Tel Aviv is in flames, and it's just propaganda. So one of the Israelis who was there I was staying in the dormitories of the Hebrew University. I said, "What's going on here?" He says, No, that's what they say all the time. You don't worry about it. And then listen to this. So I'm in this bunker of the dormitory with a lot of other people on the first night in Jerusalem, and somebody shows me a paper. It was Ma'ariv or not Haaretz, Ma'ariv or Yediot or something like that, and it says 120 planes, knocked out on the ground in Egypt. And I got very angry. Why? Because I thought that was a terrible exaggeration. They're using the same kind of propaganda as the Arabs are doing. And basically, it wasn't an exaggeration. They knocked out 400 planes on the ground.
So, but here's also a question for you. You deal in world music as well as Jewish,
Yes.
quote unquote, music, klezmer music. You were a nice Jewish boy from Orthodox family and rabbis. You live in Israel for 7 years. You undergo one war. You leave just before another. How then do you not hate Arabs and Palestinians as your enemy?
Okay. I do not. First of all, hate destroys the hater. So that's psychologically, it's not a very healthy thing to hate if you can avoid it. Obviously,
I can't avoid it.
Yeah, no, you need an outlet. But when I got to Israel, I roomed at the university, the Hebrew University, with an Arab Israeli. An Israeli Arab was my roommate. His name was Salem.
Okay.
So, I got along with him and everything was fine. I didn't, let's put it this way. Arabs, never did anything bad to me personally, right? It is, and you know what? I do think that it's the extremes of any society which actually rule that society and bring it into disrepute. So, it's not the Arabs that I hate, but I hate the policies of Hamas.
Yes, of course.
Their policies to destroy Israel. I hate their policies. The same thing can be said of, let's say, the Chinese government, the totalitarian, authoritarian Chinese government and the things that they're doing. I don't exactly like that, but I have a lot of Chinese friends, especially artist friends, whom I love and who love me. And I've written music for them and they've played music with me, and they also don't exactly love the Chinese government.
When you play Chinese music, do you hear it and then an hour later you have to hear it again?
Very good.
Thank you.
That was very, very good. I might use that.
Go ahead. Yeah, and then they'll hate you. But here's a question: what was your first instrument? Piano? Because we see you mostly on guitar. But what was your what did you learn when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, well, the truth is, I was an autodidact. When I was a kid, I was self-taught.
That's your personal business. That's
yeah. What?
Yeah, that is your own personal. What you do in the bathroom with Kleenex?
No, basically, I studied a little piano, but I took the guitar. My mother got me a guitar when I was about 14 or whatever, and I wrote a song on it right away. So that's it. I knew 2 chords. Anyway, the point was, I don't want to, let's say, pound my own drum too much, Rabbi. It's not nice. Yeah. It's not nice. But the truth is that I learned guitar a lot, and I'd say my first instrument was my voice. I could sing, right? And I still sing. And then as a composer, you see, the thing with a composer is you play all the instruments, but in your brain, right? And on the page. So to compose means that you're unlimited in terms of the instruments you can play. But of course, you just have to imagine them and understand their techniques, and then somebody who actually has studied the instrument can play it.
Well, you also have to separate, if you're arranging, you have to separate it out. So we can listen to a great rock and roll song, and once it's already done, you say, oh my God, listen to the guitar part here and the bass. If you listen one time and you just concentrate on the bass, it's like do, oh, that's really cool. And then we can just on the drum. But as a composer, you kind of got to hear them all and then write them out separately. I find that absolutely fascinating and impossible for.
Basically, it's a little bit mythologized. I'd say that it's a lot more mundane, or it's more of a craft than this great big inspiration. Not that you don't have these moments of inspiration where you hear a whole thing and then you have to take it apart and find out, okay, which instrument needs to do this and which instrument needs to do that. But to really have the conception live and sort of born, fully formed in your mind is a little more rare than what people understand. Basically, you begin with elements. There's 3 basic elements in music. There's melody, there's harmony in the Western world, and there is rhythm. So you can work with these different elements and ask yourself what the different instruments that you're writing for can actually achieve. And then you start to work it through. And then you start getting a plan. It's a process. That's why it's called a craft. It's an art also, of course, first of all. But it is a bit more, mundane than this, the great inspiration that Beethoven looking at the moon and then writing this piece, Claire la Lune, or something like that.
And he was half deaf, so that was even.
That is an incredible achievement, because he did have to internalize a lot of stuff, especially as he got more and more deaf. He had to internalize all of this stuff, and I've done that. Every composer does that, but he had to do it to an extreme. So
there was actually, what was it? Late in his life, they asked Ludwig van Beethoven, how do you do it? And he said, what? So that was the. I don't know what that means. So how long, when you write a new piece, I mean, you don't do symphony, I mean, you do fairly shorter work, like 5 to 10 minutes are your pieces. How long does it take you from having an idea, oh, I have a song, or I have a composition, we'll call it, to sheet music written, ready for an orchestra or a quartet or something to play?
It varies tremendously. Yeah. It varies tremendously because something can go through a lot of evolution. For a song form, for example, let's say the title track of the new Tzimmes album, The Road Never Traveled, I wrote it, in around 2005, 2004. So I'm playing it and working it and this, but, until I recorded it in 2019, I was still working on some of the riffs and stuff like that, and then adding the instruments. So it develops over time. There's a very good story of Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan meeting once. So Bob Dylan said to Leonard Cohen, I like this certain piece of yours. So Leonard Cohen said to him, I worked on that one for about 8 months, just to get it right. And Bob Dylan says, oh, yeah, very nice. And Leonard Cohen wanted to return the compliment. So he said to Bob Dylan, and that piece of yours really, really, it's a great piece. How long did it take? How long did you take to write that? So Dylan says 10 minutes.
And it doesn't mean one is better than the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Time is suspended in the moment of creation, you might say, which is a philosophical and a very artistic thing to say. It's a psychological, philosophical. It basically, to me, it encapsulates the actual originality moment for an artist.
I love that. And by the way, speaking of an artist and time being suspended, we are spending some time here with Moshe Denburg. He is the creator of the band Tzimmes, which is it's a 2 record. What are you putting them on? CDs, records, 8-track?
Well, it's also in hard copy. It's not an LP, CDs. Yeah.
The CD, all right.
2 discs. Yeah, 2 discs.
And it's also available like Amazon, Spotify, the usual.
It's available. It will be available Amazon, Spotify, but right now it's available on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp. Oh my gosh. Bandcamp. Yeah.
Bandcamp is a great platform. So, and also, of course, on the Tzimmes website,
which is Tzimmes.com.
Tzimmes.net, but you have to spell Tzimmes the way we spell Tzimmes, which is T as in Tom, Z, as you Americans say.
Z, yes.
Z, yeah. T-Z-I, double M as in mother, E-S, Tzimmes, right? Tzimmes.
And as in Nudnik, E as in earth, and T as in think. So it is .net there.
That's it. Thing, if you look Tzimmes.net, you'll see the cover right away. You'll see there's some tracks there that you could listen to immediately, even download them if you want, and you'll see everything about the new album.
Is it all new music, or is it collating? Is it like a greatest hits thing, or is it no? It's a brand new album, even though some of the pieces were written a while.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a compilation of things that mostly of stuff that I'd never released before. Some of the stuff was written before. It's not, written just recently, but recently, meaning over the last 20 years, most of it is that, there's mostly original pieces, either original music or original arrangements. It is a combination of secular and liturgical. So the disc 1, in fact, has a love song on it. It has actually an original arrangement of mine, which I played and sung for 50 years of the Beatles in my life.
Oh, yes.
And then The Road Never Traveled, which has a deeper meaning. It's a bit more spiritualized, or let's say, heart and soul kind of message. That's in English and has a secular sort of, musical setting. But then you got your straightforward klezmer piece, like what's a piece called Moshe's Freilach. And then on the second disc, it's subtitled Liturgy Lane. Liturgy Lane. Right up your alley, Rabbi Solomon.
Yeah, Liturgy Lane.
Rabbi Solomon. And basically over there is basically almost all pieces that are music that is based on word texts from the Torah and the Siddur, from the Torah and the prayer book.
Why? Here's a question for you. Why, as American-ish people that we are, we understand the Western canon. We like popular music. We like the pentatonics, or no, what scale do we normally use? What the hell is the normal?
It's diatonic.
Diatonic. The
diatonic, major, minor scales. Yeah.
Why is it so hard, except as like a brief novelty? Is it so tough for us, as people, not you, but regular people, to get into Eastern music? Or with different scales, and the pentatonic and the 5 this and the 7 that. Why are we so addicted to this that we know it is, and we can listen for 5 minutes to something else, and oh, that's interesting. But okay, let's get back to like what our 12 scale, 12 tone, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. Well, it is called acculturation. Now, what it means is that when we listen to something and we get it into us, it actually colors the mind. Ravi Shankar, interestingly, is called the raga. The raga is like a mode in India, that which colors the mind. So what I take from that, it's not just that mode, but any mode of music making. We're utilizing modes in the West too. I mean, it's a major scale or a minor scale and stuff like that. And that which we allow to color our minds, that's where we start to live. And to go outside of that is a little uncomfortable. It's like going outside in the cold and you don't know what it's about. Now, if you are so motivated to go outside for a little while, then you might discover something completely new. And that's when something interesting happens. So people do fall in love with Indian music who didn't grow up with it, or do fall in love with Arabic music who didn't grow up with it. I'll give you another little idea that might explain this. In Arabic and Persian and Turkish music, in other words, the music of the Middle East and the Near East, they utilize what's called quarter tones. I like to call them microtones because it's not exactly quarter anyways. Good musicians.
If you could speak a little louder into the microphone, that would be really helpful.
You got it. So basically, when we hear these things, now, Jewish musicians who grew up there or who are studying Arabic music, and there's a lot of them in Israel, right? And all over the world too, in New York, wherever, they, of course, have acculturated to it. And it's a beautiful thing once you hear it. But if you're used to Western harmony and major minor tonalities, you listen to this, say, this is out of tune. It's not. It's coloring the note a certain way. And normal people like you and me.
Well, I'm not normal, but okay, yes.
Okay, you know what I mean. I'm using it's a euphemism, you know.
Yes. I'll do the jokes. Thank you very much. But yeah,
anyway,
normal people, we're just
normal people like us will be able to sing in those modes from those places. They don't have to be great musicians because it is what colored their minds for a certain period of time. So that is what happens the world over. The music changes, and what you feel is home for you, you don't like to leave there. And that's what happens with the music, because it is a state of mind. It's a psychoacoustical phenomenon. That is my complete answer to your question.
That's a psychoacoustical phenomenon. I've been called a psycho kook, but that's a very different thing right there. Hey, by the way, I have a quick question. When I do Google you, as opposed to going to Tzimmes.net, Tzimmes.net, and I look for you, there is a Rabbi, Moshe Denburg. Do you get his mail?
No, what happened here? He's a second cousin of mine. He actually.
Oh, no, really?
I have Lubavitchers in my family, Chabad in my family, and he is the son of he's a second cousin, and he goes by the name of Rabbi Moshe Denburg, spelled the same way. Moshe, of course, I go by the name Moshe. Right. But he is a rabbi in Boca Raton. Wow. Chabad rabbi in Boca Raton. He's like a part of the Chabad. I don't know exactly everything he does, but he was his father, who just passed away at the age of, I think, 98 or 97 this last year. He was a beloved member of the family, Leba Denburg. So, that's part of my family.
I had no idea. Actually, when I asked the question, it was just to be fine. I was, oh my God, it's a second cousin. That's
yeah. People look me up and say, "Are you a rabbi?"
No, you could pass with a yarmulke and be. Do you have a family of your own? Are you married? Do you have a little?
No, I have a wonderful dedicated partner for 23 years. After 23 years, you're dedicated or you're dead. Okay, so this is it. But I don't have kids of my own.
Was that a choice because of music? Did you realize?
I think that it kind of evolved that way because the way I look at it is there's a certain moment, a certain time in a person's life when the social constructs and their biological constructs come together and they get married and they have kids and stuff like that. For me, it was a little bit because of music, and I went a little farther afield, and then it just didn't come together in that manner. And so I'm not saying I missed out, because I didn't miss out. I was very happy to continue with my artistic path, and so that's the story. I think you got it pretty right. The music took over.
And speaking of music, since you were composing and now you've been putting together this album, is that what got you through a pandemic in terms of not touring, not going up there and doing concerts and stuff?
Yep.
What did I do for a year and a half? Put together the album and what?
Yeah, well, I got very, very lucky. At the beginning of the pandemic, just a week before the pandemic was announced here in Canada, I got a commission through what's called the Canada Council here to compose a piece of music for a Chinese orchestra in Taiwan, and also the same piece for. In fact, you were playing for the orchid ensemble. Or no, you were playing Red Chamber. Sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, for another organization in Vancouver, and so I was gainfully employed, sitting at my desk composing during the first year of the pandemic.
Are you going to go out and play?
Also, yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to, we've got Delta now, but do you foresee in 2022 going out there again and doing tours and going to countries? And
touring is not on my agenda. I mean, basically, my work is as a composer. Of course, I compose for other ensembles. I still have commissions that people want to get from me, and also for the Vancouver Intercultural Orchestra, composing, arranging different things. And also, I still have some juice to put out for Tzimmes and put out some other songs, and record them. So I'm more recording, producing, composing, and that's what my life is about. Of course, with Tzimmes, we'll do gigs, in different configurations, and hopefully in 2022, if things really do subside, we can do a belated CD release concert. But touring is not on my agenda. As a composer, yeah, I can go. I'm invited to Taiwan for a remounting of one of the pieces that I wrote for them.
Whoa! And we have just a moment or two left with you before you stay, and then we bring Dave in, the producer of the show, to do the trivia quiz. But you've also you've spent significant time, I guess, in China and India as well. Do you have any amazing stories from either of those countries?
Well, India was the main place where I feel that I received some seminal understanding both of music and just of myself and the world around me. I spent a good amount of time in India, 2 trips to India, one for about 6 months, one for 7 months, where I studied the music of India. And that's sort of, expanded my horizons tremendously. It was in Madras, now called by its original name, Chennai, in the south of India. And so I studied South Indian music, classical South Indian music. And that was a very important experience. But as far as an amazing sort of, experience, I'd say that I was in my early 30s, and I trekked in the Garhwal Himalaya. I trekked with a bunch of Frenchmen that we went together. It is a place called Zanskar, which is just down from Ladakh and Tibet. I mean, but it's in the Indian part of Kashmir. Now, I don't know whether it's dangerous to go there, but at that time in 1982, 83, it was okay. And all I can say is that was, when you go trekking in the Himalaya, and for 3 weeks, and you're going and looking at mountains that are towering above you at 20,000 feet, and you're walking at 14,000, that is a significant experience that one does not forget.
Wow. Well, we are having an experience that we will not forget with Moshe. Oh, I so much want to call you Moshe, but Moshe, the other
allowed to. You're allowed to call me Moshe. My childhood friends still call me Moshe.
There you go. Moshe Denburg. Check out Tzimmes.net for his new album, well, the band's new album, The Road Never Traveled, with 2 L's, because it's a European sort of thing. The Road Never...
Perfect. British.
Let's hear
Canadian.
Let's hear a little bit more of Moshe's music before I bring in Dave Lefkowitz, who is the founder of this program, to start the quiz. But I want to thank you so much, Moshe. You've been delightful, and it's been absolutely an honor and wonderful talking to you on this show.
It's wonderful to talk to you. It has fulfilled all my expectations.
And not more?
More.
Here's some music. Eventually. It was a YouTube clip. It takes a while. Come on, damn it. No. This is called The Longing Sky. And we're longing for it to start. The hell? Did I? Oh, I potted down the sound. That's why. There you go. Here comes Dave. A little bit of Moshe Denburg there, here on Dave's Gone By. Oh, he said, wow, he got so excited, he turned blue right in front of our eyes. Look at that. He's actually glowing.
Do you want a different color? I'll put on the light, just a second.
It's like you dipped yourself in phosphorus. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dave Lefkowitz. This program is Dave's Gone By. It is 11:03 in the morning Eastern Time. You're watching our 813th episode of the program. We're calling it Mosh Pit, or a bit more like Mosh Pit. Ha ha ha! He gets it. And we're waiting for our guests who play the weekly Today, Yesterday trivia game to join us. Amazingly enough, Leslie is trying to log on. I'm hoping that she will be able to. I'm not hearing yet from David Sheward, I should say, who is our other weekly panelist. So I'm just going to type to both of them time for the quiz and send that. I know Leslie is trying to come on. So let me, while they're coming on, since they know the rules of the game, let me tell you, Moshe Denburg, the rules of the game. And by the way, do you have, by any chance, a pen, pencil, or writing implement and a scratch piece of paper?
Let me get it.
Yeah. While you do that, I'll remind everybody that you can find our archives at davesgoneby.com, DAVESGONEBY, davesgoneby.com. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. This is Leslie, looking all made up and really, really nice. And make sure that you unmute, Les, but I can see you. Unmute.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Leslie Hoban.
Hi.
How are you? And
I'm here. Thank you.
yeah,
Hello,
you're here before David is. Let me make an introduction.
Yes, please. I want trumpets. I'm here before David is.
There won't be trumpets. Well, we are trumpeting the arrival of Moshe Denburg, who is
Hello, Moshe.
Hello, Leslie.
musician, world musician, klezmer musician. How would you describe a composer?
If you get my light, I didn't put my light on.
Oh, go for it, Les. Moshe, how would you describe yourself? You would say a musician, composer. What would be your first?
Well, I'd say composer, a songwriter.
So, okay.
Basically, I've always had 4 professions: composer, performer, arts administrator, and piano tuner.
And the last one is what paid the bills from the other 4. Well, arts administrator.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I looked you up, Moshe, I have to say. I was very impressed.
Oh, thank you very much, Leslie. You didn't just find
pleasure.
my second cousin in Boca Raton.
Yeah, there's another Moshe who's a rabbi who's not him. In fact, that was the guy we were supposed to get on the show. I'm so disappointed.
Oh, I see.
I'm just,
I would
I'm
have
just,
loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen Rabbi Saul and Rabbi Moshe. That would have been very intriguing.
But Rabbi
Well,
Saul
that's
with this
why they
voice
did.
turned out to be wonderful. So it was great to have him. Welcome also, by the way, David Sheward, our regular panelist. How are you doing, David?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Let me introduce you to Moshe Denburg, the composer.
Shalom, David.
Shalom.
Yeah, musician. Leslie Hoban Blake, also in the neighborhood, all here to play
Musician.
today, yesterday quiz. So, well, real quick, a little bit of introduction. How are you guys all doing? Well, we've been talking to Moshe, but what about you, Dave? How was your week?
Okay. The summer is winding down.
Yeah. You teaching yet, or not until after Labor Day?
We go back a few days after Labor Day because the Jewish holidays are very, very early this year. So I'll go back the Thursday after Labor Day, and the students go back the Monday after Labor Day.
You know, David, I taught before they gave those days as a holiday.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was teaching. We went back the day after Labor Day, whatever day that was. Even if it was a Saturday, we went back the day after Labor Day. So be very grateful that the union fought to get that, you know.
And we get lunar.
I know. That's all since. That's all since, right?
We get a lot of
people
holidays.
looked around and went, wait a minute, if they can do it,
Yeah.
we can.
What do you guys do? What are your professions or occupations, Liz?
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leslie.
No, I was going to say that was Dave's job, and he didn't do it.
Oh, to introduce us, yeah.
Well,
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Leslie.
That's all right. I could
everyone more.
introduce David if David will introduce me. I mean, that's okay.
Here we go. David Sheward is the former president of the Drama Desk. He's also been a theater critic for 30, 40 years, but he's now teaching in a high school, and you're teaching English and history as well, or just English at the moment?
It depends. I teach ISS, which is Instructional Support Services.
For special ed, right?
Special ed. So I teach both English and also whatever subject they need ISS support in. So far I've taught math, history, science.
Helmet care. No, I can't. Terrible.
David.
I know. Just teasing.
David
is a theatrical director, or has been for many years, and is also a theater critic. She is the historian of the Drama Desk. Did I miss anything there? You were an actress for a bit too. Oh, Leslie, we lost your mic.
You've muted yourself. You've muted yourself, hon.
She's looking. She's trying to find. Nope, still mute.
Like
Still mute.
Talking and nothing's coming out.
Isn't that
The ideal woman.
That's the way you like. You've never complained before.
No.
No, what I was trying to say was, and somehow I gesticulated and hit something. I was also David's vice president at the Drama Desk. I was the longest running. Like, am I off again?
No. I was saying David Sheward, not me, David. David
I
Sheward.
was about to say you were the longest running something.
But I was also the longest running vice president in the history of the Drama Desk. David, were you the president when I went on the board? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I think you were, if you joined or you were already on.
Who was before you?
Peter Felicia.
No, then it was you, because I never served under Peter Felicia.
That's what he said.
I know. And I always thought he was so cute too. I mean, it was just, you know.
Are you guys in the New York area?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of
Yes.
it.
All their lives, pretty much. Yeah. And
I'm
where
in
were you?
Manhattan.
Are you East Coast, or where are you now?
Well, basically, I grew up in Montreal. My mother was from Flatbush, but my father's from Montreal, and we grew up in Montreal. And right now, I am on the opposite coast. I'm calling in from Vancouver.
Oh.
Thank you for waking up so early to be with us in the neighborhood.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I almost cursed.
So you went from a francophone country to an anglophone
That's
country.
why.
Well, yes and no. Of course, I grew up in a francophone environment. It's become even more francophonized, and I still.
Oh, I know. I used to cover the Montreal Film Festival when it
Is that so?
existed, when there was a Montreal Film
Like a
Festival.
Franco.
Oh, I
And
get it.
when it went to
I
French,
got it.
when they insisted on having everything translated into French, they shot themselves in the foot, also the hip, the nose, and the heart at the same time.
Every single
And-
limb.
And everybody had to speak French, and there were kids there who had never spoken French. Yes, aside from adults, there were kids who grew up in this supposedly bilingual country who never spoke. It was, I watched it disintegrate. I'm sure that you did the same.
Well, there's still a very good, strong Jewish community there. And interestingly, it's all the Sephardi Jewish immigrants, like whether it's, North African Jews, right? Because they all spoke French in Morocco.
Of course.
So they come
Yes,
to Montreal and they easily integrate. But I'd say one thing on behalf of the Francophones in my home province of Quebec. They are a French fact, a French cultural fact in a sea of Anglicization. And if you think of even our Jewish, tradition, we try to preserve, it's a natural thing to try to preserve your own identity, right?
Yeah.
So it's the way they're doing it that's the problem, but but to actually preserve the French cultural identity in North America, I don't object to that.
Actually, it just occurred to me, we had, and it's not a joke, we had a couple of weeks ago on the show a Canadian comedian named Rochelle Ellie. And she'd been doing stuff in English for years. And then she only in the past few years, decided, she started doing stand-up comedy in French as well,
Really?
French language stand-up.
Wow.
And it was a decision that she made as a Canadian to do that too. So that was kind of anyway. We have a game.
I just want to correct any impression that I was against the speaking of French anywhere.
No, I know
But-
that, Leslie.
But my contention was that when I went to Montreal initially, it was a bilingual city.
Yeah.
Again, Montreal is my point of reference. I know Toronto as well, but I was there every year for about 6 or 7 years in a row, and then it began to change, and then the things that had been wonderful about it, because it was mandated, because it was not a natural thing, and because people were not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
In other words, it was the anti-colonialization of
Yeah, no, I understand. I felt that too. I think it's a bit better now. I mean, the bilingual aspect of Montreal depends where you go, but basically it's still a very bilingual city. But at any rate, I haven't lived there for a while. So
I have to ask you a big question in that case. Did you know Leonard Cohen?
no, some of my friends, I mean, I had already gone off to Israel, but when I was 17, but some of my friends there's another story that I could tell, but I'm not going to take up too much of Dave's time. But some of my friends actually interviewed Leonard Cohen when they were in high school or later high school for their, or early university. So yes, Leonard Cohen was an important presence in the life of the
On Mont-Royal, right? On Mont-Royal.
Mont-Royal is actually it's the Mount Royal, which is how Montreal comes from, right?
Right.
And well, the female interviewees he mounted royally, I believe. So there you go.
Dear.
Thank you very much.
Moshe, I thought if we talked enough about other things, he wouldn't do anything. But you can't stop him.
I can't
You just
stop
can't stop him. No,
We forgive him for this.
Thank you.
we do. We love him.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Leslie. Thank you, David Sheward. Thank you, Moshe Denburg, for being here to play. Oh, yeah, we're here to play a game, remember? It's called the Today Yesterday Quiz. I will tell Moshe the rules, because he doesn't know yet, the rules really quickly. It's a trivia game. Each question is worth 2 points if you get it right. If you get the question wrong, one of the other contestants gets to steal if they answer it correctly and get those 2 points. And there's a couple of other things along the way. But the first thing I need Moshe to do as our new special guest in the neighborhood is kindly pick a number from 1 to 6 and tell me what it is.
5.
5, my favorite number. Okay, Moshe with 5. Leslie Hoban Blake, since you are the female of the group, last I checked, what number would you like?
Wait, last I checked too. Okay.
I think you're right.
I'll go for 2 this week.
Well, I'm sorry, was that 2?
2.
2. Leslie, number 2. David Sheward?
3.
3. David goes for 3. Now, what I'm going to do, Moshe, is I have a digital, it's just a website called Roll a Die, and it allows me to roll a digital one single die with 1 to 6 on it, And this will tell us, let's see what it'll tell us. First of all, it came up with a number 3. So, David Sheward gets to pick. Do you want to be first, second, or third?
I'll be first.
David Sheward chooses to be first because his number was 3. I rolled a 3, so he gets it. I'm going to roll again. This time it comes up number 2. Leslie, do you want to be second or third?
Oh, I want to be second, please. Thank
Leslie
you.
gets second.
I really want to be first, but that never ever happens.
Well, Moshe, which is kind of cool because you get to see how this thing works. The third question, there will be 3 rounds of each person getting a question per round, and then if necessary, a tiebreaker, or even if it's unnecessary, a tiebreaker. That's what your pen and paper are for. So, are you?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Since Moshe's going third, Moshe should be given at least 1 point for understanding how it plays if he watches us play. Because
Such an honor. Such an honor.
If you figure the game out, you're entitled to a point.
It's not that difficult.
Questions can be, but
watching us do it.
The
If there's too much Americana in it, I'm gonna cry foul.
the playing of the rules are not that difficult. The questions are difficult.
Can be different. So that's also, we tell every guest, and this is absolutely the truth. If you even get like 2 points, that's doing amazingly well in this game. Because some of the questions are pretty normal trivia, and others are like, oh, nobody knows this, just guess. And they're just fun to ask and to think about. So
did you hear Moshe's point just now about too much Americana?
Well,
did you hear that?
That's minus 1 point right there. No,
It's okay, I'll go for it.
well, we're going to go for it to start the game with our first round, and the first question will go to David Sheward, who rolled the die and elected to go first. We do the die roll to keep it really fair, because the questions are written out, but nobody knows beforehand who will get what question. So in this case, David Sheward is going first. Are you ready, David?
Yes.
The year was 1609. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to tell Moshe is that every question in some level, nearly all the questions, have to do with something that occurred in history on this date. So August 28th, whatever the year. 1609.
Except he's not telling you quite the truth, because that's the original way it started. And then that becomes a jumping off point. So whatever that question is, he then goes into God knows where, which makes it a lot of fun.
You'll see. You'll see.
You'll see.
Thank you for the midrash, Leslie.
Go ahead.
David Sheward, the year was 1609. You remember it well.
Yes.
And this is a multiple choice. Sailing for the Dutch East India Company, Henry Hudson founds and explores Delaware Bay. Speaking of Hudsons, this question is about Garth Hudson, multi-instrumentalist and organist for the band. Okay, you were right, Leslie. It does go pretty far afield. During his early...
band has Canadian roots, so Moshe should be happy, right?
There's a bit of Canadian there for sure.
Right.
During his early and later career, Garth Hudson was in some other bands, including all but one of these. A, the Lowlands, B, the Best, C, the Capers, D, Burrito Deluxe.
So which one of those is not a band that he was in?
Right.
Now, they may be real bands, but maybe he wasn't in them. The one. He was not in one of them. He was in all of them but one.
Exactly.
Now, the obvious answer is Burrito Deluxe, because it's such a stupid name that... yeah.
I agree.
And that means that that's one that he's definitely in. So, or that leads me to believe that. So it's the Best.
Reverse psychology.
The Best, and what else?
I'll read them again. Yeah. One of these was a band that Garth Hudson was not in besides the band. Was it A, the Lowlands, B, the Best, C, the Capers, D, Burrito Deluxe?
Jeez. It could be anyone, this is just luck. So the Best, the Capers, what was the second one?
Oh, the first one was the Lowlands.
The Lowlands, the Best,
the Capers, Burrito Deluxe.
Burrito Deluxe. Well, I think it's okay. Burrito Deluxe has got to be one of them. That's got to be one of them. It has to be. It's too crazy. So I just have to guess one of the remaining 3, and I'm gonna guess the Best. Sounds like it's a real name. The Capers. And these could all be real, and he wouldn't have been in them. Burrito Deluxe could be real and he wouldn't be in them. You know what? I'm just going to guess and say the capers.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, it is.
Well, I'm afraid you were not able to solve this particular caper.
Okay.
That is an actual band that
Okay.
Garth Hudson was in.
I think it was
So we're going to roll the die and see if one of our other contestants can steal this question. The next comes up a 1, which is closer to Leslie than to Moshe. So Leslie, do you want to steal this? Try and steal this question.
Oh, sure. Totally agree with David about Burrito Deluxe sounding like a fake, which means it's obviously not. But the simplicity, the pure simplicity of the name of the band makes me feel that he might have had a much more simple previous band. So I'm left with
I'll read the answer. A, the Lowlands, B, the Best, or D, Burrito Deluxe.
Did he not just say which one did David
We knocked
say?
out the capers.
I said the
Oh, the
capers.
capers. Then I will go with that he was not in. Was not negative, was not
Was
in.
not in.
I will take the obvious one. I will take Burrito Deluxe because I have no idea.
Is that your final answer?
Sure, why not?
Well, I'm afraid you are not on a roll. Burrito Deluxe was an actual band. They were actually an offshoot of a well-known band called the Flying Burrito Brothers. So
That one I
anyway,
heard of. Okay.
Moshe, you have a shot at getting.
I'm
2
going to go
points.
for the Lowlands. I'm going to say that is not a band he was in.
Is that your final answer?
It is.
We'll take that playing in for a landing. That is correct. Moshe, Lowlands is, I made that up. I mean, there may be a band called the Lowlands, but it's not, nothing to do with Garth Hudson. Yay! You are already on the board leading the game. So Garth Hudson was in an early band called Paul London and the Capers.
It was
And
pure luck.
in his later years, he
Mazel
and his
tov,
wife,
take it.
take the luck, believe me. He and Garth Hudson and his wife created a band called The Best with like an exclamation point on the end of it. So, and I think they're still in that band, or he's alive? I think he's alive. He's one of the few band people alive. But anywho, well done.
Don't say that 2 days after Charlie Watts passed. Don't do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, Robbie Robertson is still a very big name here.
And as well he should be. I adore Robbie Robertson.
Excellent musician.
Have you ever played with him?
No, I have not had that honor.
Okay, just so no Leonard Cohen stories, no Robbie Robertson stories, any Serge Gainsbourg.
I told you a Leonard Cohen story.
How many other Canadians? Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, ever?
He
there's
has
a lot of-
a Leonard Cohen story.
You have a Leonard Cohen story, Leslie?
No, I thought you said you have one. No,
I told it.
I
told
just
him
have
about the
his book and
journalist.
all his albums. I don't have a story.
I
Well,
told
more
you
of a
before,
Canadian, Charles Dutoit. Any stories about him? I don't know.
Charles Dutoit. Now you're getting into unsafe territory.
Why?
But are we going to let him tell his Leonard Cohen story?
He did, Leslie. The story was just about
You'll
the
have to
journalist.
watch the
I'm sorry. I thought there
Yeah.
was another story. Sorry. Okay, yes, I heard that story.
Got it.
Well, there's a lot of Canadian artists in the United States. A lot of Americans don't know who the Canadians are.
It's best because we hurt them if we did.
Alex
Dave Lefkowitz,
Trebek,
I'm sorry.
Serge Gainsbourg was not.
Not Canadian. I don't know why I brought
Canadian,
him up.
he
It was the French thing.
Okay.
I know. But anywho, let's move on. Let's move on to more of the
I think
game.
we should, yeah.
Moshe has 2 points, but hey, it's very, very early in the game. And now Leslie has a shot of tying Moshe. So Leslie, are you ready for your question, which is
What
also...
do I get to tie him to? Never mind.
Ha, ha,
No.
ha.
I can't believe you
Oh,
roped me
no.
into that one. All right, here we
Oh,
go.
Mr. Peabody,
Sorry.
this is infecting.
Sorry. You can't leave those things hanging.
Mr.
That's what she said. All right, here we go. 1837 was the year, Leslie. And everybody, you got to pay attention, everybody, to everybody else's question because you don't get to steal it. 1837 is the question. Two pharmacists, John Lay and William Perrins, began manufacturing their new invention, Worcestershire sauce. Which of these is not true about Worcestershire sauce?
Okay.
A. Since 1890, the factory making Worcestershire sauce has actually been in Devonshire. B. The Spanish call it salsa inglesa. C. Its distinct flavor comes from anchovies and tamarind. Or D. A batch of lay and parents has to ferment for at least a year and a half.
Which is not true.
One of these is not true. All the rest are true.
So
About lay and parents.
the idea that they're in Devonshire is one, that it's sauce anglaise is two.
Right.
I'm losing myself here.
The flavor, the distinct flavor
Tamarind
comes,
and anchovy, and what's the fourth one?
a batch of lay and parents has to ferment for at least a year and a half.
I believe that. I believe it's at Devonshire. I don't believe it's made in Devonshire. I don't believe that has anything to do with anything.
Is that your final answer?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not only is your answer divine, it is in fact Devon. Well done, Leslie Hoban Blake. Because,
Bravo.
Very good guess.
in fact, Lay and Parents has
Merci.
Yeah, the company has always been in Worcestershire. They started in one building, they moved to another, but since 1897, they've never moved out of Worcestershire. Oh, even though now they're owned by Kraft Heinz, which, Potato always loves to hear about. Don't even ask. And Moshe's like, what? Okay, don't ask.
You know
It's
what's
okay.
interesting? I never realized, I knew the thing about the anchovies because there is now a vegetarian form of Worcestershire sauce. And the reason is that people who are vegetarians do not want the anchovy.
Or allergic
And I
to
would never
fish.
have known, I would never have known, I would have assumed it was a vegetarian thing to start with, but that came out a few years ago.
Very
But-
interesting.
This is the best story, though, about Lay and this is absolutely true. When they were trying to make a fish sauce, they were trying to create one, and they made it, and it was disgusting. So they kept it in the barrel, and they left it there. And they looked at the barrel like a year and a half, 2 years later, and they opened it. And I don't know what would make them think that it would be good. So let's try this again. It's been sitting here for 2 years. But they tried it, it had fermented, and like, oh, this is good. And that was literally the beginning of Lay and Parents Worcestershire
They
sauce.
also could have died of ptomaine, my
I know,
God.
who opens a barrel when it's
Maybe.
disgusting?
They were trying to poison someone, and he discovered that this tastes good.
That's right. That's right.
A natural born mystery writer. Yes, okay.
Well done, guys. Well, we have a 2-2 tie so far between Moshe and Leslie, but David Sheward hasn't gotten a question yet. Well, no, you actually got a question yet, but you who gets to go? Moshe gets to build on his lead if you get this correct.
Wait
Are
a
you
minute.
ready?
Are we? Oh, wait.
Yeah, you went first. Leslie goes second. Moshe goes third.
Oh, Moshe stole mine. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So here's the deal, Moshe. This is a new question type that we instituted a week or two ago, and it's called 3 Clues in the News. So this is a little different from the year and the trivia and the whatever. Totally different thing. It has to do with something that's kind of out there in the news. I'll give you 3 words. The words are not connected to each other. Each word is individually connected to the word that we are looking for. For example, if I were to say sweet couch vegetable, this is just an example, you might say,
Potato.
there you go. Sweet potato, couch potato is a vegetable. So they're all connected, not to each other, but to the word. You got it?
Yeah, I think so.
So it'll be blank something blank, or a synonym kind of a thing. Here we go. 3 clues in the. Oh, you got a good one, my friend. Dust, front, shit.
Dust, front, shit. Just a minute. Been, shit, been. Oh boy. That's a good one. I mean, there's probably a time limit on how long I could think about it, right?
Kinda, we want to be off the air by 1 o'clock. So,
Hold on a second. Dust mite? No, no. Dustbin, shit bin, front bin.
and the word that we're looking for is on some level in the news, or has been
in the news. I see.
The word is in the news.
Aha.
Dust, front, shit.
I can't come up with anything, to be quite honest with you.
Do you want to pass or take a?
I will pass. I will pass.
Okay, I'm gonna roll the die. And
We suddenly have a pass noise. I never knew we had one.
I need something else. Like, what would be a pass?
I don't know. I just never knew we had one.
Oh, a pass sound?
Yeah.
Oh, like you're passing, you know what?
Yeah, passing both.
Well, what else would it be with Dave? Come on. Are you really feeding him that stuff?
So I came up, by the way, with the number 4. I rolled the die, and the number 4 came up, which is closer to David Sheward. So, David, I think you were nodding. You almost blurted it out.
Yeah, it seems he knows.
Well, I went like this, and I think I know what it is, but one of them doesn't quite fit, and I'm not sure I've got it right. But it is a word that's in the news, and so the one that comes to mind is storm.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, wow, I don't even have a
Really?
I should call you Gale because of Gale Storm, but that's not even a pun. I don't even know where I was going with that. So, but David Sheward, well done. Which one didn't you think fit?
Front.
Stormfront.
Stormfront.
Oh, okay.
The Billy Joel album, and you have Stormfront coming through.
Shitstorm, Stormfront, shitstorm.
Yeah,
You've never heard the phrase shitstorm? Wow.
Peripherally.
Okay.
Okay. No, I agree. David nailed it 1,000 times better than I did. Yeah.
I think it's you hear it when it's a really lousy situation and everything goes wrong.
Yeah,
like
it's a shitstorm. Yeah.
I remember in Angels in America, the Roy Cohn character says, "It's a shitstorm in here," or "The world is a shitstorm," or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Well, we have the opposite of a shitstorm here on Dave's Gone By because we have a tie. All 3 questions, each person that we were looking at, Moshe and Leslie and David, each has 2 points. This is exciting. I love when this happens. So we move on to round.
We should have those little horsies that move forward every time we get points, and you can cut away to that, and that's right. And we'll see who's ahead and whatnot.
I like when David said, "You should get out more." Thank you, David. Really. when the pandemic is over.
Are you speaking to me, Dave?
No, I was saying David said this was so exciting, and I said you should.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right, fair enough.
Well, I hope folks are enjoying this at home. You're watching Dave's Gone By, our Today, Yesterday quiz. It's about 11:34 in the morning, Eastern Time on our 813th show. We're calling it Mosh Pit.
Dave, that's a very clever title. Dave, did anybody ever tell you they enjoyed the show?
Never.
This our part of it?
Actually, it's become a lot of people's favorite segment of the show.
Really?
Which,
David, we're favorites. I love it.
It really is.
Okay.
This has become,
Right.
I did it as a goof a couple of times, and then I was like, oh my God, people like this more than they like hearing me talk. So it goes. I took my lumps. Anywho.
They love your questions, Dave. They're so imprecise and all over the place.
Thank you. Yeah, keep it up, Leslie. Oh,
The perfect
you just
shitstorm of
lost 2
questions.
points, Leslie.
It's called creativity, Leslie. It's called creativity.
Thank you. Well, let's see how creative we get in our second round of the game with everyone tied and this question going directly to David Sheward. David, are you ready? It's a multiple choice.
Did David just get that last question directly?
Yeah, he got it. He stole it from me.
Oh, it was a steal. I'm sorry. I do lose track. I
I get
have
it.
to be put back on track every now and then.
Go ahead.
The year was 1884.
Okay.
David Sheward. A tornado speaking of storms, a tornado ripped through the Dakota Territory today. It was notable because F.N. Richardson took a picture of it, the oldest known surviving photograph of a tornado.
Ah.
Which of these is not true about tornadoes? A 1943 tornado in Michigan stripped the feathers off 30 chickens without killing them. B, a 2017 tornado in Texas picked up half a dozen cows and put them down a quarter of a mile away without killing them. C, a 1957 tornado in New Jersey hit a drive-in movie theater just hours before it was scheduled to show The Wizard of Oz. Or D, in 1812, a tornado in Washington, D.C. helped American troops beat the British in the war.
Oh, those are all very interesting.
Yeah. Only one of them is untrue.
And the first one sounds like a cartoon.
That's exactly what I thought, David. I didn't want to interrupt you. That's exactly what I thought. I could see them swirling.
And so it's chickens plucked without being killed, cows being moved without being killed.
Right.
The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz was about to be shown at
a drive-in that was hit by a tornado
in 1957.
Right.
And a tornado helped us defeat the British in the War of 1812.
A battle in Washington or something like that.
I don't know. It could be any one of them. They all sound really interesting and true. And they're all strange enough. Like cows. Like the chicken pluck, the feather plucking sounds like the weirdest and the most outlandish. And following the logic of Burrito Deluxe, and we'll call that the Burrito Deluxe rule from now on. That's the most.
I love that.
The Burrito Deluxe rule. That's the most outlandish. So it must be true. So the chicken plucking is the weirdest. I think that the cows is. I'll say the cows.
You say the cow thing is not true.
The cow thing is not true.
I'm blowing the horn. Okay, cow horn. That says you did not get that correct.
Okay.
So we have a steal opportunity. We're going to roll the die, and we're going to see who gets to try and steal this question. And the answer is, it came up number 3, which is David's direct number, but then closest to Leslie. So Leslie, you get a steal opportunity here. Here's the deal. In 1884, a tornado ripped through the Dakotas, first surviving photograph of a tornado taken today.
I would have said cows, David. I would have said cows. Logically, I would have said cows. But is that a cow? Wait.
No, it's an elephant. An elephant's being swept up.
I have a cow. I have a cow. Can you
don't
see
have
my
a cow, man.
That's not a cow. Yes, that's a cow. It's Elsie. She's got horns and a.
She's so pretty.
That's utterly adorable. So, but Leslie,
she shows up in crossword puzzles.
Oh, so,
yes, I just did an old Wall Street Journal one with Elsie.
Really?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're just milking this too much. So, Leslie, here's the deal. Your question is one of these.
So I have chickens, tornado, the War of 1812, and what was the other one?
1957 tornado in New Jersey hit a drive-in movie theater just before they were going to be showing The Wizard of Oz.
What is not true? I don't remember tornadoes in New Jersey before climate change, which is now, it's almost 75 years ago. So I'm going to say that it was the New Jersey, the whimsical one about the Wizard of Oz and the tornado and the drive-in is not true.
Is that your
whimsical? Yes, true. No.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Well, Leslie, like you are proving to be a wizard at this game because you got that right. You get 2 points.
Very good.
But here's the fantastic part. This is actually great. Let me tell you about all these answers.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you.
The British were setting fire to the Capitol they were in the midst of this in 1812, and they didn't realize that they heard a storm was coming. They didn't realize what an American like Washington storm would be like, and it destroyed. I mean, it ended up turning the tide of the war of 1812 because it tossed their weapons and hit them and went crazy. But this is the greatest part of all. Yes, the drive-in movie thing was not true. However, in 1996, a tornado in Ontario, Canada, hit a drive-in movie theater just before they were going to show the movie Twister.
Oh,
So that actually was really true.
Wow.
That is.
Okay, I have to say something, please. The Hoban in my name, that is in parentheses, was my grandfather's last name. And we are like very distantly related to James E. Hoban, the man who designed the first White House, and then came back in 1812 to make the restorations after the war. So I just throw that into the mix for whatever it's worth.
Oh, for the White House, for the burning in the Washington. I thought you were going to say you also designed the first drive-in.
It's the War of 1812. No, he did not. It's the War of 1812. But I mean, he was there earlier than that as well. We used to say that he was our 7th great grandfather, but I think we found that wasn't true. We're much more distant than that.
Dave, yeah.
I was just about to say, also, there's a scene in the movie Twister where people are watching a drive-in movie and the Twister comes through.
Oh, wow. So that's even.
That's what is it when it's beyond meta? What is that?
I know. Well, anywho, I got wind of this particular news here that Leslie is ahead with 4 points, and she is David and Moshe each with 2 points, but we are only in round 2. Anything can happen in the today, yesterday trivia game. This next question, though, goes to Leslie, so you can build on your lead. Yeah, you can build on your lead. Got it.
Right.
Lead.
And you're pretty well salted away.
See?
Thank you.
Now, Leslie, you get 3 clues in the news. So
I hate those.
Thank you. You're doing pretty well.
I get them when they're other people's. I don't get them when they're mine.
It's the word jumble.
It takes a while to run them through your head, and it takes me longer than most, I guess.
Well,
go ahead, please.
Let's give it a try. This is 3 clues in the news. You know how it works. Moshe did one before. The words that are related to this other word are concert, pass, beer.
Say it again.
Concert, pass, beer.
I'm sorry, they make such sense. You go to a concert, you drink beer, and then you have to pass it. I mean,
remember, they're not related to each other.
That's not what you want. I know. So and I know this has to do with the concert in the park, and I don't have any idea. I can't come up with a word that suits all 3 of them. I'm sorry.
You want to pass?
I know one of you gentlemen will be able to do that. I can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me roll the die. And we come up with the number 4, which is right between David and Moshe. So I've got to roll again. This time we come up with the number 3, which is David's number. So David Sheward, would you like to take a stab at the 3 clues in the news? Concert, pass, beer.
Concert, pass, and beer. Concert, pass, and beer. All right. So you're right. It probably has to do with the concert in Central Park that was canceled because of the rain. But what word?
Did you just take off your pants, David? What was that?
No, I was sitting. I was sitting. My T-shirt was.
Sure. We know.
Couch, and I was just moving it out of the way.
We saw Jeffrey Toobin's New Yorker Zoom.
He may be the only one wearing pants in this group, so there you go.
All right, let me see here. Concert,
pass, beer.
Oh, well, wait. What was the second word again?
Pass.
Pass.
Yes.
Pass. Season?
Is that your final answer?
Beer. What's beer? Beer hall, beer mug, beer stein. I don't. The beer is the one that's got me. But a season. I'm going to say season.
I'm afraid your answer is out of season, David Sheward. That is not the correct answer. So, Moshe, this is your
I'm trying
question.
to think what was in the news that would relate to all these things. That's a season's not it. I mean, you talked about the concert in Central Park, which was canceled, but I don't know how what this would be. But I was also thinking of what goes with beer, like beer hall, beer mug, beer, beer belly. But what is in the news? A hall belly.
I think you're thinking maybe a little too hard. No, not too hard about the news stuff. I'm just giving. No,
Oh, I see. So we shouldn't worry too much about the news then.
not to give you a hint or whatever, but you're the guest, and so.
Okay. Uh, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Concert mug doesn't make sense. Concert. Rock concert. I don't know. Rock.
Yes,
Beer rock beer. I don't know. All right. I have no answer, but I'm going to say rock because I have no answer. Rock.
And you should not have rolled with rock. That is not the correct answer. But here, this is what kills me. Both you and David Sheward said it.
Really?
You guys had it.
What was it?
Hall.
Hall.
Concert hall.
Oh,
Hall pass.
Hall pass.
Oh, hall
Beer
pass.
hall.
Why hall pass?
When you're in high
pass.
school and you get a hall pass to go to the bathroom.
You never had
Oh,
that in no?
we didn't call it that.
but where does the beer fit in?
Yeah, I
hall?
see.
Yeah.
Beer
Oh,
hall.
beer hall, of course.
They both said beer hall.
Beer hall.
Literally,
Beer
both said beer
hall and
hall.
concert
And the one
hall
at
is
the hall
easy,
with
but the
the
pass hall I
Hall-
didn't get.
What's
Hall
the
in the
hall?
news. And if any of you had watched the first hour of the show, you know that I was talking about the death of Tom T. Hall, the legendary country performer
Okay.
who died like a week ago. So Hall in the news.
Okay, I guess you get the 2 points, Dave, don't
I
you?
do. Oh, I should. That's right. I should.
That's
get-
right. Dave should play the game too. Dave can pick up all
I
the
would get
unanswered
nothing.
questions.
So here's the deal. Nobody got that, but that's okay. It means that, we're still in the middle of the second round. So we still have one more question, which will go directly to Moshe. So Moshe, you can still, in this round, have the opportunity to tie Leslie Hoban Blake. I can see how excited you are now about this
pumped
opportunity.
like nobody's business. Come on.
4 to 2, right?
Now, you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
the most horrible question of all on this particular one.
Hit me
It's a
with
multiple
your
choice.
question.
I'm sorry, the last one was the most horrible question, no matter what the next one is.
Oh, I don't think you'll say that, Leslie. Here we go. Moshe, the year was 1962.
Okay.
Dr. Geza de Kaplani, a Hungarian-born surgeon working in California, finds out his wife has been cheating on him, and his revenge is something out of Criminal Minds. What does he do? A, ties her to the bed, cuts her repeatedly with a scalpel, then pours acid on all the cuts. I warned you, Leslie, I told you. B, ties her hands to a tree, chains her legs to the back of his car, and floors it. You still think the last one is the worst, Leslie? C,
No,
cuts off her hand and sews it over her vagina. Or D, cuts out her eyes, puts them in an envelope, and puts the envelope in the mailbox of her lover's house.
Which
One of
one
these-
is not true?
Which
No.
of these is true? Only
is
one of
true.
these is he actually did.
Okay,
The rest
go
is
over them.
plastic
Go
lie.
over them again, please.
Oh,
does he have to? I don't want to listen. No, 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 no,
All
no.
of it.
Ah,
I don't want to hear this.
On a
It's
very,
about the
very
cuts.
summer day,
The cuts.
1962. I'll go over. He ties her to the bed, cuts her repeatedly with a scalpel, then pours acid on all the cuts. Or did he tie her hands to a tree, chain her legs to the back of his car, and floor it? C, cuts off her hand and sews it over her vagina. Or D, cuts out her eyes, puts them in an envelope, and puts the envelope in the mailbox of her lover's house. This happened on August 28th, 1962. Moshe, you want to take a...
Okay, I'm going to talk about the things that are too horrible are the eyes. It seems
They're not all too horrible.
Yeah, they're
One of them
all
is
too
just
but I'm
horrible
saying
enough.
we're getting into comparative analysis here of the horrors. At any rate, so no, I don't go with that. The cuts, that's interesting because little surgical cuts and then make it hurt. That's a possibility. Like really, the hand is a little bit crazy because he would have to, she would put up a fight. How do you actually, do, and then you'd have to anesthetize her to sew it to there, whatever. No, I'm not going with that. And as far as the car and flooring with the car, that's a gruesome murder. I think that he wanted revenge. I'm going to go with the cuts in the acid.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you took a stab at this question. Moshe, you get yourself 2 points because that is
A stab in the dark. You see,
Ah,
Leslie, I took the most logical sort of, humanistic under the circumstances.
under the circumstances, yeah. What happened was he cut her, he sliced her
Oy
up
vey.
alive,
Oh.
poured acid on all the cuts, and she lived long enough to give a statement to the police that allowed him to be captured, but she ended up dying a few days later.
Oh, really?
Joyce,
He died.
Joyce, you have to live with him. I don't.
I didn't do it!
You know what really-
David, I swear to you, if you ever ask questions like this again, I will turn off my set because I'm going to have
really-
nightmares from this question.
Oh, no.
I
It's
swear
really
to you.
horrible.
Dave,
Oh.
that was a low blow, Dave.
I don't get it. I
I
don't get
do.
it. Low blow.
I got it.
Leslie,
Okay,
I agree.
Moshe, I got
Oh,
it.
like,
Leslie, I agree with you.
You
I
know
agree.
what's
with
really
you.
horrible?
What?
That what's really horrible is that you found this somewhere, right, David? And then
Yeah.
you have to made up
Made up the
Yeah,
other one.
That's the
Right.
horrifying
Other
thing.
one.
Yeah.
that were
Listen to this imagination, David.
made up 3 other ones that were even more horrible.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, the one with the car was done in an episode of Criminal Minds. They did that to somebody.
Well, the one
And
with
so-
cutting off the hand and sewing it on her,
Yeah, I
Well,
thought
that's kind of counterintuitive. I mean, it leaves her alive, but it leaves her blocked up. So I don't know what the point.
Well, it doesn't
of that
necessarily mean
was.
she was alive when they found her. It could have been.
and the
Yeah.
Gotham.
Yeah, Joyce. That's the thing. Joyce and I have been watching this series on Netflix called Gotham, which is a Batman prequel.
I watched that whole series. I love that series.
yeah.
There was so much cruelty and death in that show, and you're worried about my choices here.
It's based on a comic book, and I love the comic book. I mean, I have no problem with when I can translate it to comic horror, I'm okay. But you're
Sure.
talking about real stuff that actually happened, and I
Yeah,
can't
it's
deal with
amazing.
that.
The stuff that happens in this world is
Yes,
stranger
I
than
know,
fiction.
I know,
Stranger
I
than
know.
fiction.
horrible.
Okay.
Yep.
Here's we have. So this is the end of the second round of our
Oh,
today.
congratulations, Moshe.
Well, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Leslie.
yeah.
I wish it was for a more congenial question.
Yes.
We're all a little sick inside. Let's be honest. But we have one more round to go, and perhaps a tiebreaker to see who wins the game today. And our next round begins with David Sheward. Now, David, you get our other new item, our other new, also related to the news.
Okay.
We call it Mad Scramble. So it's sort of a jumble thing. We didn't. Oh, you were here last week,
Did we do this last week?
Yeah.
kinda-
Yes.
and I think you got it. Yeah,
Okay.
or Leslie got it last week, I think. So
I
here-
got
All
it.
right.
I got it.
Okay.
David, I got
I
it.
got it. Okay.
You got it. Yes, Leslie's like, yes, I got that question. I can die on this for years. I got that question.
She's
Remember
like,
on the
if you
show?
don't get it, I'll be getting it again.
Thank you so much,
You
Leslie.
had this before? Well, you got it again.
Here we go. Here we go.
All right.
David gets this question, something that happened in the news, and then the answer is also going to be a scramble of letters that I'm holding up. But
Do you
got it
have a
right.
magic marker this time?
Well, I forgot to do a magic
Because
marker.
you did it with a pen
Not
and
the
we
question.
couldn't
Don't
see
worry
it.
about it.
All
Well,
right.
I can color it and give it to
You
me.
can
There we go.
complain if you get to steal.
Joyce is going to color in as I'm asking the question
No,
and
give me,
make
give me
it.
you gotta like vamp a little bit.
So
Give
I'll
me the
vamp
letter.
slowly. Matt Scram, maybe he'll know the
I
answer.
can't. I'm not allowed to write it down, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, my marker's going out.
This singer-songwriter
Uh-huh.
lost in court this week
Oh.
when his former bandmates sued him for the right to use their music in a TV series. Here are the letters of
No, I got my marker's dying.
she's slowly coloring in this with
Okay.
marker. So I'll read the question again.
Uh,
The singer-songwriter lost in court this week when his former bandmates sued him
It's like watching Dave have a stroke. I'm
what
sorry.
does a yellow light mean? Slow down.
Slow down. I remember from Taxi.
What does a yellow
Marker. I need a big
light?
We got it though.
Slow down.
Yeah. Everybody remember Reverend Jim from that was a great. Anyway, okay, here we go.
Who's doing King Lear, by the way?
Is he really? I mean, real life. I mean, is he? Yeah. Oh
I think
wow.
he's doing King Lear.
Christopher Lloyd is doing,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
He's not always playing Reverend Jim.
Have some sense.
So here's the deal. So okay, that was the question. Here's the answer. Being sued by his former bandmates for the right to use their music in a TV series. Here is the last name. O-T-R-E-N-T.
Singer-songwriter. Okay. Rent, rot, not, nort, nor, rent, re, en, Trento, tour, rata. If I were more of a rock and roll person, I would know this.
Speaking in tongues, David. Is that Hebrew?
Norent or
Hebrew.
Tren re ren e ren trento ret et nen ner trito tet tor torrente
Thank you for doing all this work.
Yeah,
for the
thank
rest
you.
of the time.
David is having stroke.
rent rotat et e et
He's speaking Latin now.
orator.
Yes.
I got it.
I'm not a musician, so I'm not familiar with.
I think I got it.
All right, don't say it,
This is
Moshe.
David's kryptonite.
I'm not as familiar with rock and pop
This is
music.
your kryptonite, David. This is your kryptonite.
No, well, okay. Ren intro. I don't know. Torrentento.
Is that your final answer?
My final answer is
He's known
Torrentento.
as Torrentento.
Yeah, so formerly known as. I got no pun to make about it. I said no. No, it's not the correct answer, David Sheward. Moshe seems to know it, but
I think
will
Da-
he
I
get
think
the
David
role?
knew that
You
was
have to roll the
correct
dice.
answer.
So here's the deal. The roll goes to came up with number 2. Leslie gets to steal.
Whoa.
Sorry, Moshe, but Leslie, maybe you know the answer to this question.
I don't have any more of an idea than David did. I went along with him on every one of his little side trips. So he went with one kind of thing. I will go with. Sorry, they all sound like comic book villains, or Gotham villains, if you will. I will do you the favor of not saying them out loud because they really drive you crazy.
Trent. That was funny. I think.
Oh, wait a minute. I have a name. I don't know if it's a real name or not, but. Renato.
Is that your final answer?
The only word that I can make up, Renato. I never heard of him. If that is the person, I don't know who it is.
Well, is it Rayeso? No, it's Renat. Oh no, Leslie Hoban Blake. So Moshe, you seem to have the light bulb.
I think I got it. The name is Rotten.
Oh, Johnny Rotten.
I believe that's who it is.
Johnny Rotten was sued because there's a TV show called Pistol that wanted to use the music of the Sex Pistols, and the band was like, "Yes, we want money," and Johnny Rotten's like, "No, I'm not going to let you do it." And they sued and they won because he doesn't have more what say so about the songs than they do. He was outvoted in a way.
Oh.
So Moshe, you are winning the game. You have 6 points.
I can't believe it. I can't, and I can't even travel to New York to get my prize.
That's
Prize?
good
What prize?
That's good because there is no prize.
Oh, thank you. There's no prize. I don't have to
That's
travel
wonderful.
to New York.
And by the way, this program is not brought to you by Sev.
Yeah, amen.
Moshe, have you ever heard of this stuff? It's called Sev.
He's not South Asian. He's not gonna.
Masala of some sort. Huh?
It's actually it's made in Mexico, but it's a chickpea
South
snack
Asian tree.
that I've never heard of, and now I'm eating it. But it's called Sev, FYI.
Is it
Have you
cold?
not gone shopping lately? Is that the problem? I know there's stuff in the back of my closet too.
No, this is a friend of ours brought this from New Jersey, of all places. So, so here's the deal: we have a couple more questions in our round.
You're right there.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Moshe.
very good.
Thank you very much. Thank
We have
you
more
very
questions though, so it's still, we have Moshe with 6 points, Leslie with 4, David with 2. Still, anybody could take this game. This question is going to be very, very important, and it goes directly to Leslie. So Leslie, you can tie right here. It is a multiple choice question. 1963, August 28th was the day. At the Lincoln Memorial, Martin Luther King delivers his I Have a Dream speech. It was on this date.
Oh, okay.
According to Healthline.com, which of these is not true about dreams? A, you're more likely to dream about sex if you sleep face down. B, when we dream, most of our muscles become paralyzed. C, during the holidays, people are more likely to dream about dead loved ones. Or D, nightmares are most likely to occur about halfway through your sleep cycle.
Okay, Dr. Freud.
One of these is not true
It's not true. Okay.
about dreams.
Sex on your belly. What's the next one?
Rather personal.
When we dream,
Just making it work in my head. Sex on your stomach if you prefer. Go ahead.
When we dream, most of our muscles become paralyzed. During the holidays, people are more likely to dream about dead loved ones. Or D, nightmares are most likely to occur about halfway through your sleep cycle.
I'm going to go with this lying on your stomach dreaming about sex. It's not true.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, sorry to be a pain in the ass, Leslie, but that is not the correct answer. Apparently, it is true. If you're sleeping that way, you are more likely to dream about whoopee. Yeah, well,
Like if you like being on top.
I was going along with you there, Leslie.
I do just fine sleeping on my back and having dreams about sex. So I can only go from personal experience. What else can I tell you? Okay.
Capcom is not legit. This is not legit.
Yeah, I'm just saying, according to this website, which seems legit-ish. So
Thank you, Joyce.
Okay. Thanks for the qualifier.
Why don't we all try it tonight?
Okay.
I can it sort of makes sense because if you're lying in your stomach, then you know what?
Only if you're a guy, sweetheart.
A bottom, yeah. Well,
You like being a top, as they say.
You're the top I'm bottom. Yeah.
David, this is 2021. Though, let's be
You need condoms. I got them. All right, here we go.
Let's be more embracive of diversity in
Absolutely.
one's expression of sexuality.
Fair enough. Well, we're going to embrace the number that we just rolled, which is number 4, which is, let's see, who's 4? 4, 4, 4, 4, 4 is closest, is between David and Moshe. So actually we have to roll that one again. So this time it comes up number 3, which is directly David Sheward. So
Okay.
David.
So actually, I was going to go with the sex thing too, like always.
No, but what about the quiz?
When in when in doubt, go with the sex thing.
That's what you
So
said.
you
Yes.
have left, because all the rest of them sound true. I believe that your muscles are paralyzed most of your muscles are paralyzed when you're dreaming. So that's that. And the other ones were, what were the other ones?
Letter C, during the holidays, people are more likely to dream about dead loved ones. Or D, nightmares are more likely to occur about halfway through your sleep cycle.
They all sound like very plausible, because during the holidays, you are consciously maybe thinking about dead loved ones, and then that might invade your dreams.
And actually, if you sleep on your stomach during the holidays, you think about having sex with it.
Dead relatives, yeah.
Hey,
You're too stiff to do it.
Oh,
Well, you're stiff in the wrong way, yeah. So, it was moving again, yes. So
let's see. Actually, okay, so maybe so with the burrito deluxe thing, the rule, no, the burrito deluxe rule is something that's so outlandish it can't be true. So the opposite of that is, if it sounds logical, it must be false. So I'm going to go with the dead relatives.
is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, David, I'm sorry to make you cry, uncle, but that is not the correct response that we were looking for.
Okay.
So we have another steal opportunity here.
well, I'm lucky. I just have 2 to choose from. I have a 50% chance of winning here.
Yes.
You
Well,
do.
the two remaining ones are the nightmares in the middle of your sleep cycle and the
When you dream, your muscles become paralyzed.
okay, when you dream, your muscles are paralyzed.
Most of them, not all, but most of your muscles become paralyzed.
Um, I'm going to go that I'm going to say that the incorrect one is that when you dream, your muscles get paralyzed, because REM is what you dream, and your muscles are moving. It's rapid eye movements. So your muscles are not paralyzed. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to say that is incorrect.
Well, let me just muscle in here with the answer. Moshe! Oh, I'm so sorry. You all. I guess I stumped the panel on this.
Wow.
Well, if your muscles weren't paralyzed when you're dreaming, you would be falling out of bed and running and killing people and doing it. It's intentionally to keep us safe. That not every muscle, most of our muscles are paralyzed.
I see.
When you dream, amazingly enough, or nightmares are more likely to occur in the final third.
I also thought that originally, but I don't know. Anyways, look, Dave, you just got the 2 points again.
I know. I could win this game. I'm getting up there, but you still
I
have
just
6
wanted
points.
to say something about nightmares and whatnot. I took a class once, believe it or not, and had nothing to do with that. It had to do with brain waves and whatnot.
Oh.
And one of the things that I learned was that you can wake yourself up out of a nightmare.
How?
You say to yourself, "This is a friggin' nightmare." In
Yeah.
other words, you have that ability when you're asleep to wake yourself, to say, "No, I'm not running the bulls at Pamplona, and I'm not about to get gored. I'm lying in my bed and I'm asleep." And then you can wake up. And actually, it has worked more often than not, because once you put that into your head, it's there, and you can make it work. Try it the next time you have a nightmare, if you have a nightmare.
Well,
I stopped having nightmares years ago, so I don't know.
No, but I'll try to. I have to watch a Pauly Shore movie. I'm like, this is, I don't know.
Yes.
Anywho, we have one more question.
Nightmares and Pauly Shore, I agree with you. Yes.
No, I'm just teasing. I think Leslie, you still have a chance to win this game depending on how this question goes. But Moshe.
But no pressure here.
Yeah, no pressure at all. But the thing is, this question first
And-
goes to Moshe, who can put this game away right here.
Oh, is this the end of the game? Oh my goodness, then
Yeah,
he's
this
already
It's the end
won.
of the 2 rounds. I
Yeah,
think.
and it's only 10 after noon. on a segment that was originally conceived to run a half hour. I don't know how this happens.
What happened to us? Is it something that I said?
No, this happens every week. It usually ends up, I say, 40 minutes, and then like an hour and 20 minutes later.
Yeah, that's what my publicist
So
said.
we
Dave.
don't have
He said, 40-minute trivia quiz. What the heck? I'm having a great time. What do you want?
good.
And we're having a fabulous time having you here. But here's your question. And this is more straight up old-fashioned trivia right here.
Oh, okay.
So this is for the game. Moshe. The year was 2019. 5 months after announcing her presidential run, this Democratic candidate withdrew from the race. Name this former lawyer and congressman and current New York senator.
Let me see. No, it's not Klobuchar. She's not the senator from New York. What's the name of that? Gillibrand? I think that's her, Gillibrand.
Is that your final answer?
That's the best answer I can come up with.
Well, I like your brand of answering, Moshe. It was Kristen.
And I'm Canadian.
Well
I
done.
got it. Yeah.
And you're not even a New Yorker in the group, or I mean, you
Oh,
have a
yeah,
Flatbush
that was-
cousin or something.
I'm an honorary New Yorker because my mother grew up in Flatbush, and I spent every Hanukkah, Christmas time in New York in my youth. So New York is another home of mine in this world, I must say. I
Well,
love New York.
you now have a home on the throne of Dave's Gone By, because no matter what happens with the tiebreaker, which we'll do anyway, Moshe, in your very first appearance on Dave's Gone By or playing the game, you're the winner. You're like,
Dumb beginner's luck.
whatever you don't know how some people have come on here and they're like 0 points or 2 points or they beg for a point. You come on here and just
What I love is he started by saying, "But I'm Canadian and I won't know this," right? And that was so nice try, mister. Nice try. We got your number. David, what are you doing? I'm gonna get nauseous.
No, it's like
No, David's walking around his house. He's hungry already.
Spilkis. What are you doing?
I'm
What?
getting a piece of paper.
Oh, that's right. Yes, because
Oh,
even though it doesn't matter, even
doesn't
though
count for
Yeah,
anything.
let's finish
What the
off
game?
nice. Yeah. Come
we're
on.
going to do the tiebreaker anyway, just for funsies to see if you get it. And the tiebreaker, Moshe, works a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It's still, I ask a question, but instead of individually saying the answer, you're going to write down your answer. And then I'll say the question again, give a countdown of 3, 2, 1, and after the countdown, you hold up the piece of paper to the camera so that this way everybody gets to answer the question at the same time. So everybody gets
We should write big.
write big, write clear, use magic marker like my wonderful.
Well, I got a pen, but I'll write big.
And yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We'll get it. So are you all ready with your pens and your papers
Yes.
and your sleep cycle?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And your your acid. Here we go. Tiebreaker question. The year was 2017. Matt Vogel makes his TV voice debut. Vogel is only the third person to voice this character since 1955, when the character debuted on a regional TV show called Sam and Friends, created by a home economics major at the University of Maryland. Name that character.
1955.
Yeah. I see David writing. I see the pens down elsewhere, but I think we stumped David on this one.
Could you repeat the clue once?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll read it again, or I'll read it even before. But it's 2017 was the year. Matt Vogel makes his TV voice debut. Vogel is only the third person to voice this character since 1955, when that character debuted on a regional TV show called Sam and Friends, which was created by a home economics major at the University of Maryland. Name that character.
Okay.
Okay, I got my answer.
I'm going to read it one more time. And what I'll do is after I read it, I'll give a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then everybody at the same time hold up your pieces of paper. Matt Vogel, 2007, makes his TV voice debut. He's only the third person to voice this character since the character's debut in 1955 on a regional TV show called Sam and Friends, created by a home economics major at the University of Maryland. Name that character. 3, 2, 1. I see Big Bird, I see Yosemite Sam, and David Sheward with Kermit the Frog. Leslie, we're on the right track.
David's right.
Sheward, you
David's
got it.
right.
It was Kermit, that economics major, or I'm sorry, the home ec major was Jim Henson and his girlfriend, soon to be wife. They created that character of Kermit. You can go on YouTube and watch, and they're really
Do
fun.
you know that he had 3 felt children?
Kermit had 3 felt. No, I didn't know that.
No, Jim Henson and his wife had 3 felt children. Never mind.
I get it. Because the
Never
Muppets were
mind.
made out of felt.
No, that was horrible. They were felt by Jeffrey Epstein. It was.
Well, bravo, David. That was really good. I guess I wasn't up on that history.
Was Jim Henson's wife a home economics major, or Jim Henson was a home economics major?
They both were. They took classes together at the University of Maryland. That's where they met. And she helped them, and they created Sam and Friends, which was a show in '55, years before Sesame Street. And he did.
Moshe, do they show American Sesame Street in Canada, or do they have their own?
Oh yeah,
version?
we
Do they
saw
have no
Sesame
version?
Street all the time. We saw the Muppets. Sesame. You see, the thing that's really different between Canada and the US, we get all your stuff. You don't see any of ours.
Except Second City.
That's not true. That's not true. There are several Canadian series, and there are 2 reasons. One is it's less expensive to shoot there, and number
Oh no,
2,
that's true.
and
yeah.
number 2, a lot of British companies shoot there, and we get their like the Murdoch mysteries and whatnot. are
Oh,
all
you
shot
get
in Canada.
Murdoch?
We do.
Right,
Yeah.
we get Murdoch, we get Midsummer,
But
we
those
get
are-
Frankie Drake, we
but
get
aren't
all
those
of that.
considered-
Midsummer is British. It's not Canadian.
No, it's Murdoch Mysteries is
Murdoch.
Canadian. It's a Canadian production. But you know what you really get that became huge? Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Schitt's Creek
Shut up.
got
Yes.
huge in the United
Yes.
States. The
And
levies.
I was in
Yep.
Canada once several years ago and happened to be watching Sesame Street, and they had a lot of American segments, but they also inserted Muppets speaking French and
Did they?
and
Oh,
teaching French to the kids.
And they also turned them into the donut monster. So it was a very different kind of aesthetic there.
Oh, we.
Yeah. Eats hockey sticks. It's a very Canadian version of the.
Right.
Oh, we like
right.
cookies, eh?
Well, the A has got to
Congratulations,
be in there.
Moshe, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes, winner.
I'm the winner. Thank you so much. Look, it's been a wonderful time spending this Shabbos morning with you.
Yes,
And I really thank you, Dave. And it was a gas, it was a gas. So
I'm so glad you had a great time. Let me remind people that if you want to hear Moshe's band, which is actually called Tzimmes, and Tzimmes has a double CD set out that you can buy as a CD set, or you can also get it at. You mentioned it wasn't Amazon yet. It was, what was the other place?
well, it's Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, but the best thing is just to go to the Tzimmes website. You have all the instructions there, a click here, a click there. You can even listen to some things ahead of time from the album. And if you want to spell it out again, it's tzimmes.net. Here, I'm going to write it out.
In magic marker in big letters so that everybody can unscramble.
Yeah, this is-
Scramble the letters. So MES. While he's doing that, let me remind people that David Sheward writes for culturaldaily.com. He also writes for theaterlife.com as well as his own blog, The David Desk. So, David, what did you review this week? Passover, I assume.
Yes, I was that. I guess. Oh, it opened on. Was it Sunday? Yeah, it opened on
Yeah.
Sunday. It seems like a long time ago now. I reviewed Passover, which I thought was a very exciting production. Very interested to see, and it's a limited run, so it's not. They don't have to worry about whether or not they need to be a commercial hit. And it was very exciting to be back in a Broadway theater after all this time. And I received press on some off-Broadway shows, which I'll be seeing in September. So I'm looking forward to that.
Super.
And on the David Desk, I've been continuing a series of blog posts about everything I've seen in my 50 years of going to the theater. And so this week I did hear all the Shakespearean tragedies I've seen and little anecdotes about them, and hear all the Shakespearean comedies.
Whoa. The David
You can
Desk.
do that in one blog? My God, it would take days.
Well, like in one blog post, I put here are all the Shakespearean tragedies that I've seen, and then the next one was the Shakespearean comedies.
I see.
And you're doing it in sonnet form, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, and then I'll do the histories.
We leave the sonnets to you, Dave.
When I do that,
sorry.
in the past, I did do a Shakespearean satire called McTrump, which is also on there.
So it's all there at the David Desk blog.
David Desk.
And then for solely the theater stuff, go to culturaldaily.com and theaterlife.com. Leslie Hoban Blake, you are now again doing new episodes of the podcast, the video podcast, that is Critic Circle on YouTube. Did you have a new one this week, or what?
We're shooting. We're in the middle of shooting one. We're doing episode 6 of Schmigadoon, because we saw the first 5 and we reviewed that. We need to go back and speak about episode 6. Beyond Broadway's Golden Age, that wonderful Rick McKay documentary. Thank you. And Shiptafaz Kohen, which I have now seen since its inception about almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
And this is the way it was done at the Irish Rep. And you can still I think you can still go online and see it, maybe through today.
Oh boy.
I think it's well worth seeing through August 28th anyway.
Folks, all you have to do is go to YouTube and look for the Critics Circle channel with Leslie and our mutual friend Charlie Gross to hear their reviews of these shows online and in person too. So all that remains for me is to thank all 3 of you, including our new winner, Moshe, who is holding up, is that Tzimmes? CTZIMMES.net. Yeah. Yeah, well, don't stew over it. That's a little Tzimmes joke right there. Thank you guys so much. Moshe, please come back and play. When you have several hours free, please come back and play the game. You were absolutely delightful.
Well, thanks a lot.
And
it was great to be with you guys. You take care of yourselves.
Enjoyed meeting you very much.
Yes.
Bye-bye. I'm going to let you all go individually because that's how Zoom works. So thank you, Moshe.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom to you.
Shalom.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye to you, David Sheward. Have a great week. Oh, David, I want to wait, let me let Leslie go. I have one quick question for David Sheward. Leslie, have a great
I'm not allowed to hear it, huh? Okay.
I can hear the question, but it's not did you see Passover? Leslie, did you go see Passover?
No, I did not. No.
David, I have to ask you because I'm under.
Okay, ask David. I won't listen to you. Can send me home. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye, Leslie. So
bye, David.
Bye.
I would ordinarily do this off the air, but I'm just kind of curious. I know there's loud gunshots in the show. How many of them and where are they?
Oh, let me think.
Because I feel like I should see the show, but I'm not quite ready to brave New York yet. But at the same time, if it's really great.
They're about,
I'm
trying to think. They're about 4 or 5.
All at or at different times in the show?
I think at different times.
Oh, hell no, I'm not seeing that. I'm just going to sit there peeing myself.
Towards the end.
Yeah.
There are I think 3 or 4, something like that, in succession towards the end.
But it's not like bang, bang, bang. It's sort of like bang, some more dialogue, bang, some more dialogue, bang.
They're all kind of, from what I remember, I don't remember exactly, but they all come towards the end, and I think, yes.
All right, thanks. I shouldn't have even done this on the show, but Everybody who watches the show knows everything about me. I'm a little neurotic about loud, sudden noises and gunshots.
I'm doing
This
fine.
is my wife torturing right there.
Now we know how to get you to do things.
Have a wonderful week, David. Thank you so much. We'll see
Bye-bye.
you next Saturday on Dave.
Okay.
Gone
Talk to you
By.
later. Bye.
No, I almost put you in the waiting room. Hold on. There you
Oh.
go. Bye-bye. Dave's Gone By. Oh my God, it's almost 12:30 in the afternoon here in the neighborhood. We don't have that much more to go. We did most of everything that we're going to be doing on this program because we did Gridley Crimes and Old Times. We did My Sick Mind. I talked about the passing of Tom T. Hall and Don Everly and Charlie Watts. We have done, we've covered a lot. And we have, of course, Rabbi Saul talking to Moshe Denburg, which leads us to our next segment, which is just one of the nice things about doing this program. I talked about the archives being available on davesgoneby.com or on archive.org or on our YouTube channel, Dave's Gone By, or our Facebook channel and the podcast that is at castbox.fm, plus being able to watch us on Altice Nassau Cable on Channel 20 on Monday mornings at 1 or Tuesday mornings at 4. All of these ways to see Dave's Gone By. And of course, you tune in for the comedy, you tune in for the quiz, you tune in for whatever segment is your favorite. But we're also extremely proud of the guests that we've had on the show over the years. We call them the friends of the neighborhood, and we keep tabs on them. We like to let you know what they're up to and what they have been up to in this segment. So, friends of the neighborhood, I'll keep the music up a little bit. That's nice. So, for example, Moshe Denburg is a brand new friend of the neighborhood. Make sure you go to Tzimmes. I'm sorry?
Did he win?
He won!
Oh my
He's
God.
not only a friend of the neighborhood, he's the winner.
Did Vicky Quade ever win?
I do believe she won one.
Because I was going to say this might be the first guest that won the first time.
And Vicky's been on a few times,
she's
so
been
she
on
can win the
several.
first. So go Moshe. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And go get his album with the band Tzimmes.
I'll put his thing
The
on
Road
the
Never
camera.
Tzimmes.com. Tzimmes. Yeah, Joyce is going to add it to the chat again. Tzimmes.com for The Road Never Traveled. Get yourself a copy. So, other people who've been on the program that we're keeping tabs on, for example, Don Pearl, our beloved friend from Colorado, my writer and poet friend and former Spanish teacher back in Colorado. He wrote another editorial for the Greeley Tribune back on August 18th. You can go find it. It's all about speaking truth to power, which is what
Say
Don
that
is all about.
again. Give me the...
Wait, Tzimmes, TZIMMES.net for The Road Never Traveled. But Don Pearl, go read his editorial. He's written a bunch of them over the years for the Greeley Tribune. And you're probably going to want to read what Don Pearl has to write. I want to let you know that Edward Einhorn's play Alma Baya is playing at ART New York. It's just through this weekend in person, but then they're also going to take the video recording and stream it online through September 19th. So you're going to want to see Alma Baya by Edward Einhorn. I think he directed it as well through the middle of September online. But if you're in New York and you want to see it like a show in person, you have today and tomorrow only. I want to let you know, let's see, that today, today the 27th or the 28th? It's the 28th. Our Sinatra with Eric Comstock
I put it in the chat.
is back at Birdland. It was a hit off-Broadway show many years ago. They're bringing it back for one or two nights. It's Our Sinatra at Birdland. Letting you know also that starting today and running through October 8th, play a new addition to the Richard Nelson canon. He's the one who's been writing these Apple Family plays that were done at the Public Theater. This one is being done now at the Hunter College Theater in New York.
I'm an alum.
That's right. That's right. We should go see it. It's called What Happened, and it picks up. Remember when we were watching the Richard Nelson plays on from Channel 13 or public TV.
3 stories.
Yeah, it was the one about the family around the kitchen table.
Oh yeah.
Slowly
We
losing
saw
their
that
income.
We have Broadway.com or we have Broadway HD.
Yes.
We don't watch that anymore.
We should, yeah.
Those were great.
Yeah, they were good. There were 3 different plays. There's now another one. He's written a new one called What Happened, and it's being done in person at Hunter College with J.O. Sanders. Also, again, he's such a marvelous actor. I know he's a friend of the neighborhood. We had him on. But I didn't realize until a bit later than that what an interesting, terrific actor he is. He's the guy who plays, like, the piano teacher, brother guy in the Apple family. It's Apple or it's the other family plays. But it's they're political, but they're also familial. They're really, really good. Go see What Happened. Whoops. Look, Joyce has a face.
No.
She actually has a face.
I do not.
And she got these, which are very nice also.
I do not.
Betty Davis, Aim for Sissies. Oh, thank you, dear. This is Jessica Scher's show. You can stream it from now through the 30th. She's doing it for... we're watching that Gotham thing with Poison Ivy, who lets men smell her and they become under her power. All you have to do is like, give me a massage. I'm like, anything you want, Joyce. Anything. Jessica Scher. Betty Davis, Aim for Sissies. I think it's for the Edinburgh thing. It's a digital, virtual Edinburgh thing. You can watch it at BettyDavisAin'tForSissies.com today, tomorrow, and Monday. Also letting you know that on the 2nd of September, Donna McKechnie, legendary from A Chorus Line, Donna McKechnie is doing In Classic Conversations at CSC Company. You can watch that at classicstage.org. Starting on the 2nd, this is it. Broadway is happening. It is coming back, Delta notwithstanding. So Waitress opens, or reopens, I should say, comes back on September 2nd through January 9th only at the Ethel Barrymore Theater on Broadway and features our friend actor Dakin Matthews. So go see him. We're going to get a lot more of these Broadway things opening bit by bit by bit with our friends in them. Letting you also know that on September 3rd, Mike Agranoff will be playing at the Troubadour in Morristown, New Jersey. For more information, go to troubadourfolkproject.org. And then playing through, I can say this. It's next Saturday through the 25th of September. Eric Comstock is going to be at Birdland on 44th Street. Letting you know that Jim Caruso's cast party is every Monday night at Birdland. Evan Seplow is the founder and the editor of StageBuddy.com, a website you want to check about New York nightlife. And then Dr. Demento, still having all his old Dr. Demento shows for a small fee, and brand new Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. Bob Cudmore podcasting about upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And if you want 24 hours, 7 days a week of Broadway music, just go to soundsofbroadway.com. And those, my friends, it stopped playing. Stop playing the Haydn music. Oh dear. I guess I will have to hide and go seek his music out. And those, my friends, are the friends of the neighborhood. And also, how can we leave out a couple of things? How can we not remind you one more time that read David Sheward's blog at the David Desk and read his theater reviews at theaterlife.com and culturaldaily.com. Watch Leslie Hoban Blake and Charlie Gross in Critics Circle. That's the name of the YouTube channel, so they have all the episodes there. Critics Circle. Plus, if you want to see their old episodes of Two on the Aisle, go to the Two on the Aisle channel on YouTube. And let's not forget Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder, spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches. His website, shalomdammit.com, where you can read and hear his rabbinical reflections. You can watch his stage show, an early version of it, called Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon, and his TV show, Shalom Dammit, Rabbi Saul Solomon's Peace, Love, and Acid Reflux Hour, all 10 hilarious episodes, all for free. ShalomDammit.com. Check the Rabbi's Twitter feed as well, at Rabbi Sol Solomon. Those, finally, are, in fact, the friends of the neighborhood. Well, it's just a bit after 12:30 in the afternoon here in the neighborhood. I'm Dave Lefkowitz, host and producer of the program, here with my wonderful wife, Joyce, giving a shout out to our friends at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett. I can't say anything more about them because it would violate Cablevision or Altice's rules about, saying things about companies, but let's just say I thank them very, very much for their support, Hewlett Minuteman Press. What else do I have to tell you before we move on to the last segment of Dave's Gone By? Oh, I know. If you thought my question about killing that guy's cheating wife was the most horrible thing you were going to hear today on Dave's Gone By, I will disabuse you of that notion because we still have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Every week I do a short poem, a 5-line poem, in limerick form, which are intentionally meant to reach a kind of a horrible punchline. So yes, and this week, I'm a Wiley kind of a guy. We're going to Wiley, Colorado, for our limerick of the damned.
You're the poetry man. A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain, Colorado,
Yes, indeed. Rocky Mountain High in Colorado, Rado, is where we go for our Limerick of the Damned every week. And this time we're going to Wiley, which is a statutory town in far southeastern Colorado. It's got about 500 people in it. It's near the John Martin Reservoir, which is eastern Colorado's largest body of water. I imagine, like so much of Colorado now, it's parched because they've been having such a problem with drought and rain in that part of the country. But anyway, because it's near that water, Wiley is known for all the usual Colorado things: camping, trails, hiking, natural things. It was named after W.M. Wiley, who was an early settler to the town and president of the Holly Sugar Company. The post office there opened back in 1907, and it used to be a hub for, quite literally, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. And as such, back in the day, it had a grocery, a pharmacy, a stable, a pool hall. It had a live theater in Wiley, Colorado, a newspaper, a cheese factory, a pickle processing plant, and a brick factory. I kind of makes me wish it was like 1910 when I was living in Wiley, Colorado. Because if I could just go to the theater and have a nice pickle before the show, so I need in my life, ladies and gentlemen. But this is a limerick for Wiley, Colorado, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. There is a young woman in Wiley, of whom I could not think more highly. On front, side, or back, she's wild in the sack, and yet she does anal so shyly. Please send your comments and complaints to Dave's Gone By at AOL.com. That is our email address, davesgoneby at AOL.com. You can also just message me right here on Facebook if you're a friend on Facebook, or you can just post, if you watch the show, post right under the show. We love to hear from you. Happy to, I read everything even if I don't have the chance to reply. But again, davesgoneby at AOL.com is my email address. Radio Dave 2 is my Twitter feed. You want to check that as well. And also, of course, check this website, the Facebook page, as well as davesgoneby.com during the week to find out what we'll be up to in the days and weeks ahead on Dave's Gone By. I'm very excited that next Saturday, the first Saturday in September, we expect to be here from 9 until noonish or thereabouts, doing another episode of the show. And our guest Technology willing, we tested it out last night and it worked. So we will be hearing from a longtime friend and theater colleague of mine, Marie Kilker. Marie has been a theater critic for Total Theater. She's written for papers up and down Florida, where she has been writing about Florida theater for decades now. I believe she also wrote about theater in Chicago as well for a while. So, yeah, Marie, she's made it through the pandemic. We remember, Joyce and I remember her going with other theater critics to France, a trip that she organized 20-something years ago. So it should be very, very fun to talk to Marie about her life, about her career, about her autograph collection. She started collecting autographs of movie stars and theater people many years ago, and she's got a lot to talk about as well. So, and she won't be playing the quiz. She's going to beg off on that, alas. But even so, should be much fun talking to Marie Kilker next Saturday on Dave's Gone By. Well, remains to me to thank all of you for tuning in, to thank one more time David Sheward, Leslie Hoban Blake, and especially Moshe Denburg. Go to Tzimmes.com for the Tzimmes album, The Road Never Traveled. Thank you so much to my darling, wonderful wife, Joyce, for all your help and support and your love today and every day of the year. Big shout out to your mama. Hope she is okay. Hope your dad is okay too. And yeah, this is time for us to leave the neighborhood. Make it a good week. I know a lot of people are going back to school. A lot of people are going back to work. A lot of stuff happening, despite the world still being a really, really, really crazy-ass place. Don't get me started. Well, yeah, you'll get me started next Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, for the 814th episode of this program, Dave's Gone By. Until then, have a great one, and gone by.
Days gone by, days gone by, days gone by.